At the End of All Desire, by Algernon Charles Swinburne. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. I am tired of tears and laughter, and men that laugh and weep, of what may come hereafter, for men that sow to reap. I am weary of days and hours, blown buds of barren flowers, desires and dreams and powers, and everything but sleep. We are not sure of sorrow, and joy was never sure. Today will die tomorrow. Time stoops to no man's lure, and love grown faint and fretful, with lips but half regretful, sighs and with eyes forgetful, weeps that no loves endure. From too much love of living, from hope and fear set free, we thank with brief thanksgiving, whatever God's may be, that no life lives forever, that dead men rise up never, that even the weariest river winds somewhere to the sea. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Ballad of William Sycamore, 1790 to 1880, by Stephen Vincent Benet. Read for LibriVox.org by Chris Pyle. My father, he was a mountaineer. His fist was a knotty hammer. He was quick on his feet as a running deer, and he spoke with a Yankee stammer. My mother, she was merry and brave, and so she came to her labor, with a tall green fir for her doctor grave, and a stream for her comforting neighbor. And some are wrapped in the linen fine, and some like a godling scion, but I was cradled on twigs of pine in the skin of a mountain lion. And some remember a white starched lap and a ewer with silver handles, but I remember a coonskin cap and the smell of bayberry candles. The cabin logs with the bark still rough, and my mother who laughed at trifles, and the tall, lank visitors brown as snuff, with their long, straight squirrel rifles. I can hear them dance like a foggy song through the deepest one of my slumbers, a fiddle squeaking the boots along, and my father calling the numbers. The quick feet shaking the puncheon floor, and the fiddle squeaking and squealing, till the dried herbs rattled above the door, and the dust went up to the ceiling. There are children lucky from dawn till dusk, but never a child so lucky, for I cut my teeth on money musk in the bloody ground of Kentucky. When I grew tall as the Indian corn, my father had little to lend me, but he gave me his great old powder horn and his woodsman's skill to befriend me. With a leather shirt to cover my back and a red-skin nose to unravel each forest sign, I carried my pack as far as a scout could travel, till I lost my boyhood and found my wife, a girl like a Salem clipper, a woman straight as a hunting knife, with eyes as bright as the Dipper. We cleared our camp where the buffalo feed, unheard-of streams were our flagons, and I sowed my sons like the apple seed on the trail of the western wagons. They were right tight boys, never sulky or slow, a fruitful, a goodly muster. The eldest died at the Alamo, the youngest fell with Custer. The letter that told it burned my hand, yet we smiled and said, so be it. But I could not live when they fenced the land, for it broke my heart to see it. I saddled a red, unbroken colt and rode him into the day there, and he threw me down like a thunderbolt and rolled on me as I lay there. The hunter's whistle hummed in my ear as the city men tried to move me, and I died in my boots like a pioneer with the whole wide sky above me. And your life's easy where mine was rough, my little clerks of the city, but an easy body is fragile stuff, and I find you easy to pity. I lie in the heart of the fat black soil like the seed of a prairie thistle. It has washed my bones with honey and oil, and picked them clean as a whistle. And my youth returns like the rains of spring, and my sons like the wild geese flying. And I lie and hear the meadowlarks sing, and have much content in my dying. Go play with the towns you have built of blocks, the towns where you would have bound me. I sleep in my earth like a tired fox, and my buffalo have found me. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Battle of Naseby by Thomas Babington Macaulay, read for LibriVox.org by Cavaet. Oh, wherefore come ye forth in triumph from the north, with your hands and your feet and your raiment all red? And wherefore doth your rout send forth a joyous shout, and whence be the grapes of the winepress which ye tread? Oh, evil was the root, and bitter was the fruit, and crimson was the juice of the vintage that we trod. For we trampled on the throng of the haughty and the strong, who sat in the high places, and slew the saints of God. It was about the noon of a glorious day in June that we saw their banners dance and their cuirasses shine, and the man of blood was there with his long essenced hair, and Astley, and Sir Marmaduke, and Rupert of the Rhine. Like a servant of the Lord, with his Bible and his sword, the general rode along us to form us to the fight, when a murmuring sound broke out and swelled into a shout among the godless horsemen upon the tyrant's right. And hark, like the roar of the billows on the shore, the cry of battle rises along their charging line. For God, for cause, for church, for the laws, for Charles, King of England, and Rupert of the Rhine. The furious German comes with his clarions and his drums, his bravos of Alsacia and pages of Whitehall. They are bursting on our flanks. Grasp your pikes, close your ranks, for Rupert never comes but to conquer or to fall. They are here, they rush on. We are broken, we are gone. Our left is borne before them like stubble on the blast. O Lord, put forth thy might. O Lord, defend the right. Stand back to back in God's name and fight it to the last. Stout Skippon has a wound, the centre hath given ground. Hark, hark, what means the trampling of horsemen on our rear? Whose banner do I see, boys? 'Tis he, thank God, 'tis he, boys. Bear up another minute, brave Oliver is here. Fast, fast the gallants ride, in some safe nook to hide, their coward heads predestined to rot on Temple Bar. And he turns, he flies. Shame on those cruel eyes that bore to look on torture and dare not look on war. Ho, comrades, scour the plain, and ere ye strip the slain, first give another stab to make your search secure. Then shake from sleeves and pockets their broad pieces and lockets, the tokens of the wanton, the plunder of the poor. Fools, your doublets shone with gold, and your hearts were gay and bold, when you kissed your lily hands to your lemans today. And tomorrow shall the fox from her chamber in the rocks lead forth her tawny cubs to howl above the prey. Where be your tongues that late mocked at heaven and hell and fate, and the fingers that once were so busy with your blades? Your perfumed satin clothes, your catches and your oaths, your stage plays and your sonnets, your diamonds and your spades. Down, down, forever down with the mitre and the crown, with the Belial of the court and the Mammon of the Pope. There is woe in Oxford halls, there is wail in Durham stalls. The Jesuit smites his bosom, bishop rends his cope. And she of the 7 hills shall mourn her children's ills, and tremble when she thinks on the edge of England's sword. And the kings of earth in fear shall shudder when they hear what the hand of God hath wrought for the houses and the word. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Breathes there the man, from Lay of the Last Minstrel by Sir Walter Scott, read for LibriVox.org by Ron Altman. Breathes there the man with soul so dead, who never to himself hath said, "This is my own, my native land," whose heart hath ne'er within him burned, as home his footsteps he hath turned from wandering on a foreign strand. If such there breathe, go mark him well. For him no minstrel raptures swell. High though his titles, proud his name, boundless his wealth as wish can claim, despite those titles, power and pelf, the wretch, concentred all in self, living shall forfeit fair renown, and doubly dying shall go down to the vile dust from whence he sprung, unwept, unhonored, and unsung. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Brighter Hours by Cora C. Bass. Read for LibriVox.org by mleigh. Heavy though the raindrops fall, and the claps ring long and loud, brighter hours will come to all, as the sunlight gilds the cloud. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Charity by H. Cordelia Ray. Read for LibriVox.org by Sydney M. I saw a maiden, fairest of the fair, with every grace bedight beyond compare. Said I, what doest thou, pray, tell to me? I see the good in others, answered she. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Christabel by Samuel Taylor Coleridge. Read for LibriVox.org by Peter Tucker. Part the first. 'Tis the middle of the night by the castle clock, and the owls have awakened the crowing cock. To wit, to woo! And hark again, the crowing cock, how drowsily it crew. Sir Leoline, the Baron rich, hath a toothless mastiff, which, from her kennel beneath the rock, maketh answer to the clock. 4 for the quarters, and 12 for the hour. Ever and aye, by shine and shower, 16 short howls, not over loud. Some say she sees my lady's shroud. Is the night chilly and dark? The night is chilly, but not dark. The thin grey cloud is spread on high, it covers but not hides the sky. The moon is behind, and at the full, and yet she looks both small and dull. The night is chill, the cloud is grey. 'Tis a month before the month of May, and the spring comes slowly up this way. The lovely lady, Christabel, whom her father loves so well, what makes her in the wood so late, a furlong from the castle gate? She had dreams all yesternight of her own betrothed knight, and she in the midnight wood will pray for the weal of her lover that's far away. She stole along, she nothing spoke, the sighs she heaved were soft and low, and nought was green upon the oak, but moss and rarest mistletoe. She kneels beneath the huge oak tree, and in silence prayeth she. The lady sprang up suddenly, the lovely lady Christabel. It moaned as near can be, but what it is she cannot tell. On the other side it seems to be of the huge broad-breasted old oak tree. The night is chill, the forest bare. Is it the wind that moaneth bleak? There is not wind enough in the air to move away the ringlet curl from the lovely lady's cheek. There is not wind enough to twirl the one red leaf, the last of its clan, that dances as often as dance it can, hanging so light and hanging so high on the topmost twig that looks up at the sky. Hush, beating heart of Christabel! Jesu, Maria, shield her well! She folded her arms beneath her cloak and stole to the other side of the oak. What sees she there? There she sees a damsel bright, dressed in a silken robe of white, that shadowy in the moonlight shone. The neck that made that white robe wan, her stately neck and arms were bare, her blue-veined feet unsandaled were, and wildly glittered here and there the gems entangled in her hair. I guess 'twas frightful there to see a lady so richly clad as she, beautiful exceedingly. Mary, mother, save me now, said Christabel, and who art thou? The lady strange made answer meet, and her voice was faint and sweet. Have pity on my sore distress, I scarce can speak for weariness. Stretch forth thy hand, and have no fear, said Christabel. How camest thou here? And the lady, whose voice was faint and sweet, did thus pursue her answer meet. My sire is of a noble line, and my name is Geraldine. 5 warriors seized me yestermorn, me, even me, a maid forlorn. They choked my cries with force and fright, and tied me on a palfrey white. The palfrey was as fleet as wind, and they rode furiously behind. They spurred amain, their steeds were white, and once we crossed the shade of night. As sure as heaven shall rescue me, I have no thought what men they be. Nor do I know how long it is, for I have lain entranced, I wis, since one, the tallest of the five, took me from the palfrey's back, a weary woman, scarce alive. Some muttered words his comrades spoke. He placed me underneath this oak. He swore they would return with haste. Whither they went I cannot tell. I thought I heard, some minutes past, sounds as of a castle bell. Stretch forth thy hand, thus ended she, and help a wretched maid to flee. Then Christabel stretched forth her hand, and comforted fair Geraldine. O well, bright dame, may you command the service of Sir Leoline, and gladly our stout chivalry will he send forth, and friends withal, to guide and guard you safe and free, home to your noble father's hall. She rose, and forth with steps they passed, that strove to be, and were not, fast. Her gracious stars the lady blessed, and thus spake on sweet Christabel. All our household are at rest, the hall as silent as a cell. Sir Leoline is weak in health, and may not well awakened be. But we will move as if in stealth, and I beseech your courtesy this night to share your couch with me. They crossed the moat, and Christabel took the key that fitted well. A little door she opened straight, all in the middle of the gate that was ironed within and without, where an army in battle array had marched out. The lady sank, belike through pain, and Christabel with might and main lifted her up, a weary weight, over the threshold of the gate. Then the lady rose again, and moved as she were not in pain. So free from danger, free from fear, they crossed the court. Right glad they were, and Christabel devoutly cried to the lady by her side, Praise we the Virgin all divine, who hath rescued thee from thy distress. Alas, alas, said Geraldine, I cannot speak for weariness. So free from danger, free from fear, they crossed the court. Right glad they were. Outside her kennel the mastiff old lay fast asleep in moonshine cold. The mastiff old did not awake, yet she an angry moan did make. And what can ail the mastiff bitch? Never till now she uttered yell beneath the eye of Christabel. Perhaps it is the owlet's scritch, for what can ail the mastiff bitch? They passed the hall that echoes still, pass as lightly as you will. The brands were flat, the brands were dying, amid their own white ashes lying. But when the lady passed, there came a tongue of light, a fit of flame, and Christabel saw the lady's eye, and nothing else saw she thereby, save the boss of the shield of Sir Leoline tall, which hung in a murky old niche in the wall. O softly tread, said Christabel, my father seldom sleepeth well. Sweet Christabel her feet doth bare, and jealous of the listening air they steal their way from stair to stair, now in glimmer and now in gloom, and now they pass the baron's room, as still as death, with stifled breath, and now have reached her chamber door, and now doth Geraldine press down the rushes of the chamber floor. The moon shines dim in the open air, and not a moonbeam enters here, but they without its light can see the chamber carved so curiously, carved with figures strange and sweet, all made out of the carver's brain, for a lady's chamber meet. The lamp with twofold silver chain is fastened to an angel's feet. The silver lamp burns dead and dim, but Christabel the lamp will trim. She trimmed the lamp, and made it bright, and left it swinging to and fro, while Geraldine in wretched plight sank down upon the floor below. O weary lady, Geraldine, I pray you drink this cordial wine. It is a wine of virtuous powers. My mother made it of wild flowers. And will your mother pity me, who am a maiden most forlorn? Christabel answered, Woe is me! She died the hour that I was born. I have heard the grey-haired friar tell how on her deathbed she did say that she should hear the castle bells strike 12 upon my wedding day. O mother dear, that thou wert here! I would, said Geraldine, she were. But soon with altered voice said she, Off, wandering mother, peak and pine, I have power to bid thee flee. Alas, what ails poor Geraldine? Why stares she with unsettled eye? Can she the bodiless dead espy? And why with hollow voice cries she, Off, woman, off, this hour is mine, though thou her guardian spirit be, Off, woman, off, 'tis given to me. Then Christabel knelt by the lady's side, and raised to heaven her eyes so blue. Alas, said she, this ghastly ride, dear lady, it hath wildered you. The lady wiped her moist cold brow, and faintly said, 'tis over now. Again the wildflower wine she drank. Her fair large eyes gan glitter bright, and from the floor whereon she sank, the lofty lady stood upright. She was most beautiful to see, like a lady of a far country. And thus the lofty lady spake: All they who live in the upper sky do love you, holy Christabel, and you love them, and for their sake, and for the good which me befell, even I in my degree will try, fair maiden, to requite you well. But now unrobe yourself, for I must pray, ere yet in bed I lie. Quoth Christabel, so let it be, and as the lady bade, did she. Her gentle limbs did she undress, and lay down in her loveliness. But through her brain of weal and woe so many thoughts moved to and fro, that vain it were her lids to close. So halfway from the bed she rose, and on her elbow did recline to look at the Lady Geraldine. Beneath the lamp the lady bowed, and slowly rolled her eyes around. Then drawing in her breath aloud, like one that shuddered, she unbound the cincture from beneath her breast. Her silken robe and inner vest dropped to her feet, and full in view, behold, her bosom and half her side, a sight to dream of, not to tell. O shield her, shield sweet Christabel! Yet Geraldine nor speaks nor stirs. Ah, what a stricken look was hers! Deep from within she seems half-way to lift some weight with sick assay, and eyes the maiden seeks to lay. Then suddenly, as one defied, collects herself in scorn and pride, and lay down by the maiden's side, and in her arms the maid she took. Ah, well a day! And with low voice and doleful look these words did say: In the touch of this bosom there worketh a spell, which is lord of thy utterance, Christabel. Thou knowest to-night, and wilt know to-morrow, this mark of my shame, this seal of my sorrow. But vainly thou warest, for this is alone in thy power to declare, that in the dim forest thou heardst a low moaning, and foundst a bright lady, surpassingly fair, and didst bring her home with thee in love and in charity, to shield her and shelter her from the damp air. The conclusion to part the first. It was a lovely sight to see the Lady Christabel when she was praying at the old oak tree, amid the jagged shadows of mossy leafless boughs, kneeling in the moonlight to make her gentle vows, her slender palms together pressed, heaving sometimes on her breast, her face resigned to bliss or bale, her face, oh call it fair, not pale, and both blue eyes more bright than clear, each about to have a tear. With open eyes, ah woe is me, asleep and dreaming fearfully, fearfully dreaming, yet I wis, dreaming that alone which is, O sorrow and shame, can this be she, the lady who knelt at the old oak tree? And lo, the worker of these harms, that holds the maiden in her arms, seems to slumber still and mild, as a mother with her child. A star hath set, a star hath risen, O Geraldine, since arms of thine have been the lovely lady's prison. O Geraldine, 1 hour was thine, thou'st had thy will, by Tern and rill the night birds all that hour were still. But now they are jubilant anew, from cliff and tower, to woo, to woo, to woo, to woo, from wood and fell. And see, the Lady Christabel gathers herself from out her trance. Her limbs relax, her countenance grows sad and soft, the smooth thin lids close o'er her eyes, and tears she sheds, large tears that leave the lashes bright, and oft the while she seems to smile as infants at a sudden light. Yea, she doth smile and she doth weep, like a youthful hermitess, beauteous in a wilderness, who praying always prays in sleep, and if she move unquietly, perchance 'tis but the blood so free comes back and tingles in her feet. No doubt she hath a vision sweet. What if her guardian spirit 'twere, what if she knew her mother near? But this she knows, in joys and woes, that saints will aid if men will call, for the blue sky bends over all. Part the second. Each matin bell, the Baron saith, knells us back to a world of death. These words Sir Leoline first said, when he rose and found his lady dead. These words Sir Leoline will say many a morn to his dying day. And hence the custom and law began, that still at dawn the sacristan, who duly pulls the heavy bell, 45 beads must tell, between each stroke, a warning knell, which not a soul can choose but hear from Brathahead to Windermere. Saith Bracy the bard, so let it knell, and let the drowsy sacristan still count as slowly as he can. There is no lack of such, I ween, as well fill up the space between. In Langdale pike and witch's lair, and dungeon gill so foully rent, with ropes of rock and bells of air, 3 sinful sextons' ghosts are pent, who all give back, one after t'other, the death note to their living brother, and oft too by the knell offended, just as their 1, 2, 3 is ended. The devil mocks the doleful tale with a merry peal from Borrowdale. The air is still, through mist and cloud that merry peal comes ringing loud, and Geraldine shakes off her dread, and rises lightly from the bed, puts on her silken vestments white, and tricks her hair in lovely plight, and nothing doubting of her spell awakens the Lady Christabel. Slept you, sweet Lady Christabel? I trust that you have rested well. And Christabel awoke and spied the same who lay down by her side, or rather say the same whom she raised up beneath the old oak tree. Nay, fairer yet, and yet more fair, for she belike hath drunken deep of all the blessedness of sleep. And while she spake, her looks, her air, such gentle thankfulness declare, that so it seemed her girded vests grew tight beneath her heaving breasts. Sure I have sinned, said Christabel, now heaven be praised if all be well. And in low faltering tones, yet sweet, did she the lofty lady greet, with such perplexity of mind as dreams too lively leave behind. So quickly she rose, and quickly arrayed her maiden limbs, and having prayed that he, who on the cross did groan, might wash away her sins unknown, she forthwith led fair Geraldine to meet her sire, Sir Leoline. The lovely maid and the lady tall are pacing both into the hall, and pacing on through page and groom, enter the Baron's presence room. The Baron rose, and while he pressed his gentle daughter to his breast, with cheerful wonder in his eyes the Lady Geraldine espies, and gave such welcome to the same as might beseem so bright a dame. But when he heard the lady's tale, and when she told her father's name, why waxed Sir Leoline so pale, murmuring o'er the name again, Lord Roland de Vaux of Triamain? Alas, they had been friends in youth, but whispering tongues can poison truth, and constancy lives in realms above, and life is thorny, and youth is vain, and to be wroth with one we love doth work like madness in the brain. And thus it chanced, as I divine, with Roland and Sir Leoline. Each spake words of high disdain and insult to his heart's best brother. They parted, ne'er to meet again, but never either found another to free the hollow heart from paining. They stood aloof, the scars remaining like cliffs which had been rent asunder. A dreary sea now flows between, but neither heat nor frost nor thunder shall wholly do away, I ween, the marks of that which once hath been. So Leoline a moment's space stood gazing on the damsel's face, and the youthful lord of Triamain came back upon his heart again. Oh, then the Baron forgot his age, his noble heart swelled high with rage. He swore by the wounds in Jesu's side he would proclaim it far and wide, with trump and solemn heraldry, that they who thus had wronged the dame were base as spotted infamy. And if they dare deny the same, my herald shall appoint a week, and let the recreant traitors seek my tourney court, that there and then I may dislodge their reptile souls from the bodies and forms of men. He spake, his eye in lightning rolls, for the lady was ruthlessly seized, and he kenned in the beautiful lady the child of his friend. And now the tears were on his face, and fondly in his arms he took fair Geraldine, who met the embrace, prolonging it with joyous look, which when she viewed, a vision fell upon the soul of Christabel, the vision of fear, the touch and pain. She shrunk and shuddered, and saw again. Ah, woe is me! Was it for thee, thou gentle maid, such sights to see? Again she saw that bosom old, again she felt that bosom cold, and drew in her breath with a hissing sound, whereat the knight turned wildly round, and nothing saw but his own sweet maid with eyes upraised as one that prayed. The touch, the sight, had passed away, and in its stead that vision blest, which comforted her after rest while in the lady's arms she lay, had put a rapture in her breast, and on her lips and o'er her eyes spread smiles like light. With new surprise, "What ails then, my beloved child?" the Baron said. His daughter mild made answer, "All will yet be well." I ween she had no power to tell aught else, so mighty was the spell. Yet he who saw this Geraldine had deemed her sure a thing divine. Such sorrow with such grace she blended, as if she feared she had offended sweet Christabel, that gentle maid. And with such lowly tones she prayed she might be sent without delay home to her father's mansion. "Nay, nay, by my soul," said Leoline. "Ho, Bracy the bard, the charge be thine. Go thou with music sweet and loud, and take 2 steeds with trappings proud, and take the youth whom thou lovest best to bear thy harp, and learn thy song, and clothe you both in solemn vest, and over the mountains haste along, lest wandering folk that are abroad detain you on the valley road. And when he hath crossed the Earthing flood, my merry bard, he hastes up Norren Moor, through Halegarth wood, and reaches soon that castle good, which stands and threatens Scotland's wastes. Bard Bracy, your horses are fleet, you must ride up the hall, your music so sweet, more loud than your horses' echoing feet. And loud to Lord Roland call, thy daughter is safe in Langdale Hall. Thy beautiful daughter is safe and free. Sir Leoline greets thee thus through me. He bids thee come without delay, with all thy numerous array, and take thy lovely daughter home. And he will meet thee on the way, with all his numerous array white with their panting palfreys' foam. And by my honour I will say that I repent me of the day when I spake words of fierce disdain to Ronald de Vaux of Triamain. For since that evil hour hath flown, many a summer's sun have shone, yet ne'er found I a friend again like Roland de Vaux of Triamain. The lady fell and clasped his knees, her face upraised, her eyes o'erflowing, and Bracy replied with faltering voice, his gracious hail on all bestowing, Thy words, thy sire of Christabel, are sweeter than my harp can tell. Yet might I gain a boon of thee, this day my journey should not be, so strange a dream hath come to me, that I had vowed with music loud to clear yon wood from thing unblessed, warned by a vision in my rest. For in my sleep I saw that dove, that gentle bird whom thou dost love, and call'st by thy own daughter's name. Sir Leoline, I saw the same fluttering and uttering fearful moan, among the green herbs in the forest alone, which when I saw and when I heard, I wondered what might ail the bird, for nothing near it could I see save the grass and green herbs underneath the old tree. And in my dream methought I went to search out what might there be found, and what the sweet bird's trouble meant, that thus lay fluttering on the ground. I went and peered, and could descry no cause for her distressful cry. But yet for her dear lady's sake I stooped, methought, the dove to take, when lo, I saw a bright green snake coiled around its wings and neck. Green as the herbs on which it couched, close by the dove its head it crouched, and with the dove it heaves and stirs, swelling its neck as she swelled hers. I awoke, it was the midnight hour, the clock was echoing in the tower, but though my slumber was gone by, this dream it would not pass away, it seems to live upon my eye. And thence I vowed this self-same day, with music strong and saintly song, to wander through the forest bare, lest aught unholy loiter there. Thus Bracy said. The Baron the while half listening heard him with a smile, then turned to Lady Geraldine, his eyes made up of wonder and love, and said in courtly accents fine, Sweet maid, Lord Roland's beauteous dove, with arms more strong than harp or song, thy sire and I will crush the snake. He kissed her forehead as he spake, and Geraldine in maiden wise, casting down her large bright eyes, with blushing cheek and courtesy fine, she turned her from Sir Leoline, softly gathering up her train that o'er her right arm fell again, and folded her arms across her chest, and couched her head upon her breast, and looked askance at Christabel. Jesu Maria, shield her well. A snake's small eye blinks dull and shy, and the lady's eyes they shrunk in her head, each shrunk up to a serpent's eye, and with somewhat of malice and more of dread, at Christabel she looked askance. One moment, and the sight was fled. But Christabel, in dizzy trance, stumbling on the unsteady ground, shuddered aloud, with a hissing sound. And Geraldine again turned round, and like a thing that sought relief, full of wonder and full of grief, she rolled her large bright eyes divine wildly on Sir Leoline. The maid, alas, her thoughts are gone, she nothing sees, no sight but one. The maid, devoid of guile and sin, I know not now, in fearful wise, so deeply had she drunken in that look, those shrunken serpent eyes, that all her features were resigned to this sole image in her mind, and passively did imitate that look of dull and treacherous hate. And thus she stood in dizzy trance, still picturing that look askance with forced unconscious sympathy, full before her father's view, as far as such a look could be in eyes so innocent and blue. And when the trance was o'er, the maid paused a while and inly prayed, then falling at her father's feet, By my mother's soul do I entreat that thou this woman send away, she said, and more she could not say, for what she knew she could not tell, o'ermastered by the mighty spell. Why is thy cheek so wan and wild, Sir Leoline? Thy only child lies at thy feet, thy joy, thy pride, so fair, so innocent, so mild, the same for whom thy lady died. O by the pangs of her dead mother think thou no evil of thy child. For her and thee, and for no other, she prayed the moment ere she died, prayed that the babe for whom she died might prove her dear lord's joy and pride. That prayer her deadly pangs beguiled, Sir Leoline. And wouldst thou wrong thy only child, her child and thine? Within the baron's heart and brain, if thoughts like these had any share, they only swelled his rage and pain, and did but work confusion there. His heart was cleft with pain and rage, his cheeks they quivered, his eyes were wild, dishonoured thus in his old age, dishonoured by his only child, and all his hospitality to the insulted daughter of his friend, by more than woman's jealousy brought thus to a disgraceful end. He rolled his eye with stern regard upon the gentle minstrel bard, and said in tones abrupt, austere, "Why, Bracy, dost thou loiter here? I bade thee hence." The bard obeyed, and turning from his own sweet maid, the aged knight Sir Leoline led forth the Lady Geraldine. The conclusion to part the second. A little child, a limber elf, singing, dancing to itself, a fairy thing with red round cheeks, that always finds and never seeks, makes such a vision to the sight as fills a father's eyes with light. And pleasures flow in so thick and fast upon his heart, that he at last must needs express his love's excess with words of unmeant bitterness. Perhaps 'tis pretty to force together thoughts so unlike each other, to mutter and mock a broken charm, to dally with wrong that does no harm. Perhaps 'tis tender too and pretty at each wild word to feel within a sweet recoil of love and pity. And what if in a world of sin, O sorrow and shame should this be true, such giddiness of heart and brain comes seldom save from rage and pain, so talks as it's most used to do. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Day is Done by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. Read for LibriVox.org by Ron Altman. The day is done, and the darkness falls from the wings of night as a feather wafted downward from an eagle in his flight. I see the lights of the village gleam through the rain and the mist, and a feeling of sadness comes o'er me that my soul cannot resist. A feeling of sadness and longing that is not akin to pain, and resembles sorrow only as the mist resembles the rain. Come, read to me some poem, some simple and heartfelt lay, that shall soothe this restless feeling and banish the thoughts of the day. Not from the grand old masters, not from the bards sublime, whose distant footsteps echo through the corridors of time. For, like the strains of martial music, their mighty thoughts suggest life's endless toil and endeavor, and tonight I long for rest. Read from the humbler poet, whose songs gushed from his heart, as showers from the clouds of summer, or tears from the eyelids start. Who, through long days of labor, and nights devoid of ease, still heard in his soul the music of wonderful melodies. Such songs have power to quiet the restless pulse of care, and come like the benediction that follows after prayer. Then read the treasured volume, the poem of my choice, and lend to the rhyme of the poet the beauty of thy voice. And the night shall be filled with music, and the cares that infest the day shall fold their tents like the Arabs, and as silently steal away. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Duet by Ella Wheeler Wilcox. Read for LibriVox.org by Theo Douglas. Seattle, Washington, April 2025. I was smoking a cigarette. Maud, my wife, and the tenor, McKee, were singing together a blithe duet, and days it were better I should forget came suddenly back to me. Days when life seemed a gay masked ball, and to love and be loved was the sum of it all. As they sang together, the whole scene fled. The room's rich hangings, the sweet home air, stately Maud with her proud blonde head, and I seemed to see in her place instead a wealth of blue-black hair, and a face, your face, yours, Lisette, a face it were wiser I should forget. We were back, well, no matter when or where, but you remember, I know, Lisette, I saw you, dainty and debonair, with the very same look that you used to wear in the days I should forget, and your lips, as red as the vintage we quaffed, were pearl-edged bumpers of wine when you laughed. 2 small slivers with big rosettes peeped out under your kilt skirt there, while we sat smoking our cigarettes. Oh, I shall be dust when my heart forgets, and singing that self-same air, and between the verses, for interlude, I kissed your throat and your shoulders nude. You were so full of a subtle file, you were so warm and so sweet, Lisette. You were everything men admire, and there were no fetters to make us tire, for you were a pretty grisette. But you loved as only such natures can, with a love that makes heaven or hell for a man. They have ceased singing that old duet, stately Maud and the tenor McKee. You are burning your coat with your cigarette, and qu'avez-vous, dearest, your lids are wet, Maud says, as she leans over me, and I smile and lie to her, husband-wise. Oh, it's nothing but smoke in my eyes. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Fairy from the Sun Shower by Jovan Jovanović Smaj. Read for LibriVox.org by Newgatenovelist. When the Serbians see the sun rays of a summer shower, they say it is the fairies combing their hair. Over the meadow a shower is roaming, just beyond is the summer sun. Fair is the hair that the fays are combing. Myth come true! Here's my dainty one, tripping the path in the wind's soft blowing. Her slender form through her gown is showing. Her foot scarce whispers the way she's going. Come, my bright one, come, my soul, let my kisses be your goal. But the path has heard my sighing, turns aside, and leads my fay into the forest, love defying. Path, accursed be! But stay! Lost to love each moment gliding, what if in the woodland hiding, still for me, my fay be biding? Wait, my bright one, wait, my soul, your sweet kisses are my goal. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Fame by A. Leslie, from Weird Tales, January 1927. Read for LibriVox.org by Dale Grothmann. High and cold the tapers burn with a white fire, and the silver strands are clotted with the ash of dead desire. Bleak as the flameless altar of the God without a name stands mid the sweeping star winds a lonely shrine of fame. Stilled is the song of laughter, frozen the warmth of tears, sound only grand cadenzas, the heart song of the spheres. Rugged the way and narrow, pale with the bleach of bones, rimming of sweat in the furrows, blackening of blood on the stones. And they who kneel at the chancel gaze forward, they dare not look back, for white are the pillars and bitter, that worn by the soul-clutching track. End of poem. This reading is in the public domain.
The Field of Waterloo by Sir Walter Scott. Read for LibriVox.org by Cavaet. Fair Brussels, thou art far behind, though, lingering on the morning wind, we yet may hear the hour, pealed over orchard and canal, with voice prolonged and measured fall, from proud St. Michael's tower. Thy wood, dark Sonians, holds us now, with the tall beech's glossy bough, for many a league around, with birch and darksome oak between, spreads deep and far a pathless screen of tangled forest ground. Stems planted close by stems defy the adventurous foot, the curious eye, for access seeks in vain, and the brown tapestry of leaves, strewed on the blighted ground, receives nor sun, nor air, nor rain. No opening glade dawns on our way, no streamlet glancing to the ray, our woodland path has crossed, and the straight causeway which we tread prolongs a line of dull arcade, unvarying through the unvaried shade, until in distance lost. A brighter, livelier scene succeeds. In groups the scattering wood recedes, hedgerows and huts and sunny meads, and cornfields glance between. The peasant at his labour blithe plies the staff and the shortened scythe. But when these ears were green, place closed within destruction's scope, full little was that rustic's hope the ripening to have seen. And lo, a hamlet and its fane, let not the gazer with disdain their architecture view. For yonder rude ungraceful shrine and disproportioned spire are thine, immortal Waterloo. Fear not the heat, though full and high, the sun has scorched the autumn sky, and scarce a forest straggler now to shade us spreads a greenwood bough. These fields have seen a hotter day than e'er was fired by sunny ray, yet 1 mile on yon shattered hedge crests the soft hills whose long smooth ridge looks on the field below, and sinks so gently on the dale that not the folds of beauty's veil in easier curves can flow. Brief space from thence the ground again, ascending slowly from the plain, forms an opposing screen which, with its crest of upland ground, shuts the horizon all around. The softened vale between slips smooth and fair for coursers to tread. Not the most timid maid need dread to give her snow-white palfrey head on that wide stubble ground. Nor wood, nor tree, nor bush are there, her course to intercept or scare, nor fosse nor fence are found, save where from out her shattered bowers rise Hugomon's dismantled towers. Now seest thou aught in this lone scene, can tell of that which late hath been? A stranger might reply, The bare extent of stubble plain seems lightly lightened of its grain, and yonder sable tracks remain, marks of the peasant's ponderous wain, when harvest home was nigh. On these broad spots of trampled ground, perchance the rustics dance such round as tenures love to draw, and where the earth seems scorched by flame, to dress the homely feast they came, and toiled the chiefed village dame around her fire of straw. So deem'st thou, so each mortal deems, of that which is from that which seems but other harvest here, than that which the peasant's scythes demands, was gathered in by sterner hands, with bayonet, blade, and spear. No vulgar crop was theirs to reap, no stinted harvest thin and cheap. Heroes before each fatal sweep fell thick as ripened grain, and ere the darkening of the day, piled high as autumn shocks there lay, the ghastly harvest of the fray, the corpses of the slain. I look again, that line so black, and trampled marks the bivouac, yon deep-graved ruts the artillery's track, so often lost and won. And close behind, the hardened mud still shows where, fetlock deep in mud, the fierce dragoon through battle's flood dashed the hot war-horse on. These spots of excavation tell the ravage of the bursting shell, and feel'st thou not the tainted steam that reeks against the sultry beam from yonder trenched mound? The pestilential fumes declare that carnage has replenished there her garner house profound. Far other harvest home and feast than claims the boar from scythe released on these scorched fields were known. Death hovered o'er the maddening rout, and in the thrilling battle shout sent for the bloody banquet out a summons of his own. Through rolling smoke the demon's eye could well each destined guest espy, well could his ear in ecstasy distinguish every tone that filled the chorus of the fray, from cannon roar and trumpet bray, from charging squadrons' wild hurrah, from the wild clang that marked their way, down to the dying groan, and the last sob of life's decay, when breath was all but flown. Feast on, stern foe of mortal life, feast on, but think not that a strife with such promiscuous carnage rife protracted space may last. The deadly tug of war at length must limits find in human strength, and ceased when these are past. Vain hope, that morn's o'er-clouded sun heard the wild shout of fight begun, ere he attained his height. And through the wall smoke, volumed high, still peals that unremitted cry, though now he stoops to night, for 10 long hours of doubt and dread, fresh succours from the extended head of either hill the contest fed. Still down the slope they drew, the charge of columns paused not, nor ceased the storm of shell and shot, for all that war could do of skill and force was proved that day, and turned not yet the doubtful fray on bloody Waterloo. Pale Brussels, then what thoughts of thine, when ceaseless from the distant line continued thunders came? Each burgher held his breath to hear these forerunners of havoc near, of rapine and of flame. When ghastly sights were thine to meet, when rolling through thy stately street the wounded showed their mangled plight in token of the unfinished fight, and from each anguish-laden wain the blood drops laid their dust like rain. How often in the distant drum heardst thou the fell invader come, while Ruin, shouting to his band, shook high her torch and gory brand. Cheer thee, fair city, from yon stand, impatient still at his outstretched hand, points to his prey in vain, while maddening in his eager mood, and all unwont to be withstood, he fires the fight again. On was still his stern exclaim, confront the battery's jaws of flame, rush on the levelled gun, my steel-clad cuirassiers advance, each Huron forward with his lance, my guard, my chosen, charge for France, France and Napoleon. Loud answered their acclaiming shout, greeting the mandate which was sent out, their bravest and their best to dare the fate their leader shunned to share. But he, his country's sword and shield, still in the battle front revealed, where danger fiercest swept the field, came like a beam of light. In action prompt, in sentence brief, Soldiers, stand firm, exclaimed the chief. England shall tell the fight. On came the whirlwind like the last, but fiercest sweep of tempered blast. On came the whirlwind, steel gleams broke, like lightning through the rolling smoke. The war was waked anew. 300 cannon mouths roared loud, and from their throats with flash and cloud the showers of iron threw. Beneath their fire in full career rushed on the ponderous cuirassier. The lancer crouched his ruthless spear, and hurrying as to havoc near, the cohort's eagles flew. In one dark torrent broad and strong, the advancing onset rolled along, from harbingered by fierce acclaim, that from the shroud of smoke and flame pealed wildly the imperial name. But on the British heart were lost the terrors of the charging host, for not an eye the storm that viewed changed its proud glance of fortitude, nor was one forward footstep stayed, as dropped the dying and the dead. Fast as their ranks the thunders tear, fast they renewed each serried square, and on the wounded and the slain closed their diminished files again, till from their lines scarce spears' length 3, emerging from the spoke they see helmet and plume and panoply, then wake their fire at once, each musketeer's revolving knell, as fast as regularly fell, as when they practised to display their discipline on festal day. Then down went helm and lance, down were the eagle banners sent, down reeling steeds and riders went, corselets were pierced and pennons rent, and to augment the fray, wheeled full against their staggering flanks, the English horsemen's foaming ranks force their listless way. Then to the musket knell succeeds the clash of swords, the neigh of steeds, as plies the smith his clanging trade, against the cuirass rang the blade. And while amidst their close array the well-served cannons rent their way, and while amid their scattered band raged the fierce riders' bloody brand, recoiled in common rout and fear, lancer and guard and cuirassier, horseman and foot, a mingled host, their leaders fallen and their standards lost. Then Wellington, thy piercing eye, this crisis court of destiny, the British hosts had stood that morn against charge of sword and lance, as their own ocean rocks held stance. But when thy voice had said, advance, they were their ocean's flood. O thou, whose inauspicious aim hath wrought thy host in this hour of shame, thinkest thou thy broken bands will bide the terrors of yon rushing tide? Or will they chosen brook to feel the British shock of levelled steel? Or dost thou turn thine eye where coming squadrons gleam afar, and fresher thunders wake the war, and other standards fly? Think not that in yon column's file the conquering troops from distant Dial is Blucher yet unknown, or dwells not in thy memory still, heard frequent in thine hour of ill, what notes of hate and vengeance thrill in Prussia's trumpet tone? What yet remains, shall it be thine to head the relics of thy line in one dread effort more? The Roman law thy leisure loved, and then canst tell what fortune proved that chieftain who of yore ambition's dizzy paths essayed, and with the gladiator's aid for empire enterprised, he stood the cast his rashness played, left not the victims he had made, dug his red grave with his own blade, and on the field he lost was laid, abhorred but not despised. But if revolves thy fainter thought on safety, however so brought, then turn thy fearful rein and ride, though twice 10,000 men have died on this eventful day, to gild the military fame, which thou for life in traffic tame wilt barter thus away. Shall future ages tell this tale of inconsistent, faint and frail? And art thou he of Lodi's bridge, Marengo's field, and Wagram's ridge? Or is thou a soul like mountain tide, that swelled by winter storm and shower, rolls down in turbulence of power, a torrent fierce and wide? Reft of these A's, a rill obscured, shrinking unnoticed, mean and poor, whose channel shows displayed the wrecks of his impetuous course, but not one symptom of the force by which these wrecks were made. Spur on thy way, since now thine ear has brooked thy veterans' wish to hear, who as thy flight they hied, exclaimed, while tears of anguish came wrung forth by pride and rage and shame. Oh, that he had but died! But yet to some this hour of ill, look ere thou leavest the fatal hill, back on yon broken ranks, upon whose wild confusion gleams the moon, as on the troubled streams, when rivers break their banks, and to the ruined peasant's eye objects half roll seen swiftly by. Down the dread current hurled, so mingle banner, wain, and gun, where the tumultuous flight rolls on, of warriors who, when morn begun, defied a banded world. List. Frequent to the hurrying rout, the stern pursuers' vengeful shout tells that upon their broken rear rages the Prussians' bloody spear. So fell a shriek was none, when Beresina's icy flood, reddened and thawed with flame and blood, and pressing on thy desperate way, raised off and long their wild hurrah, the children of the dawn. Thine ear no yell of horror cleft, so ominous when, all bereft, of aid the valiant Pollock left. I, left by thee, found Soldiers' grave, in Leipzig's corpse-encumbered wave, fate in those various perils past, reserve thee still some future cast. On the dread die thou now hast thrown, hangs not a single field alone, nor one campaign thy martial fame. The empire, dynasty, and name have felt the final stroke, and now, o'er thy devoted head, the last stern vial's wrath is shed, the last dread seal is broke. Since thou wilt live, refuse not now before these demagogues to bow, late objects of thy scorn and hate, who shall thy once imperial fate make wordy theme of vain debate. Or shall we say thou stoopest less low in seeking refuge from the foe, against whose heart in prosperous life thine hand hath ever held the knife? Such homage hath been paid by Roman and by Grecian voice, and there were honour in the choice, if it were freely made. Then safely come, in one so low, so lost we cannot own a foe. Though dear experience bid us end, in thee we ne'er can hail a friend. Come howsoever, but do not hide close in thy heart that germ of pride, erstwhile by gifted bard espied thee, that yet imperial hope. Think not that for a fresh rebound, to raise ambition from the ground, we yield thee means of or scope. In safety come, but ne'er again hold type of independent reign. No islet calls thee lord. We leave thee no confederate band, no symbol of thy lost command, to be a dagger in the hand from which we wrench the sword. Yet even in yon sequestered spot may worthier conquest be thy lot than yet thy life has known. Conquest unbought by blood or harm, that needs nor foreign aid nor arm, a triumph all thine own. Such waits thee when thou shalt control those passions wild, that stubborn soul, that mar thy prosperous scene. Hear this from no unmoved heart, which sighs comparing what thou art with what thou mightst have been. Thou too, whose deeds of fame renewed bankrupt a nation's gratitude, to thine own noble heart must owe more than the meed she can bestow. For not a people's just acclaim, not the full hail of Europe's fame, the prince's smile, the state's decree, the ducal rank, the gartered knee, not these such pure delight afford, as that when hanging up thy sword. Well mayest thou think, this honest steel was ever drawn for public weal, and, such was rightful heaven's decree, never sheathed unless with victory. Look forth once more with softened heart, ere from the field of fame we part. Triumph and sorrow border near, and joy oft melts into a tear. Alas, what links of love that mourn has war's rude hand asunder torn? For ne'er was field so sternly fought, and ne'er was conquest dearer bought. Here piled in common slaughter sleep those whom affection long shall weep. Here rests the sire that ne'er shall strain his orphans to his heart again, the son whom on his native shore the parent's voice shall bless no more, the bridegroom who has hardly pressed his blushing consort to his breast, the husband whom, though many a year long love and mutual faith endear, thou canst not name one tender tie, but here dissolved its relics lie. Oh, when thou seest at some mourner's veil shroudeth in form and visage pale, or marks the matron's bursting tears, stream when the stricken drum she hears, or sees how many a grief suppressed is labouring in a father's breast, with no inquiry vain pursue the cause, but think on Waterloo. Period of honour as of woes, what bright careers was thine to close? Marked on thy roll of blood what name to Britain's memory and to fame's laid there their last immortal claims? Thou saw'st in seas of gore expire redoubted Picton's soul of fire, saw'st in the mingled carnage lie all that of Ponsonby could die. Delancey changed love's bridal wreath for laurels from the hand of death. Saw'st gallant Miller's failing eye still bent where Albion's banners fly, and Cameron in the shock of steel die like the offspring of Lochiel, and generous Gordon mid the strife, for while he watched his leader's life, though her guardian angel's shield fenced Britain's hero through the field, faint not the less her power made known through his friends' hearts to pierce his own. Forgive, brave dead, the imperfect lay, who may your names, your numbers say, with high-strung harp what lofty line to each the dear-earned praise assign, from high-born chiefs of martial fame to the poor soldiers of lowlier name. Lightly ye rose that dawning day from your cold couch of swamp and clay, to fill, before the sun was low, the bed that morning cannot know. Oft may the tear the green sod steep, sacred be the hero's sleep, till time shall cease to run, and ne'er beside their noble grave may Britain pass and fail to crave a blessing on the fallen brave who fought with Wellington. Farewell, sad field, whose blighted face wears desolation's withering trace. Long shall my memory retain thy shattered huts and trampled grain, with every mark of martial wrong that scathes thy towers, fair Hougoumont. Yet though thy garden's green arcade the marksman's fatal post was made, though on thy shattered breaches fell the blended rage of shot and shell, though from thy blackened portals torn there fall thy blighted fruit trees mourn, has not such havoc brought a name immortal in the rolls of fame? Yes, Agincourt may be forgot, and Cressy be an unknown spot, and Blenheim's name be new, but still in story and in song, from many age remembered long, shall still live the towers of Hougoumont and Field of Waterloo. Conclusion. Stern tide of human time that knows not rest, but sweeping from the cradle to the tomb, bearest ever downward on thy dusky breast successive generations to their doom, while thy capricious stream has equal room for the gay bark where pleasure's steamers sport, and for the prison ship of guilt and gloom, the fisher skiff and barge that bears a court, still wafting onward all to one dark silent port. Stern tide of time, through what mysterious change of hope and fear have our frail barks been driven? For ne'er before vicissitude so strange was to one race of Adam's offspring given, and sure such very change of sea and heaven, such unexpected burst of joy and woe, such fearful strife as that where we have striven, succeeding ages ne'er again shall know, until the awful term when thou shalt cease to flow. Well hast thou stood, my country, the brave fight, hast well maintained through good report and ill, in thy just cause, and in thy native might, and in heaven's grace and justice constant skill, whether the banded prowess, strength, and skill of half the world against thee stood arrayed, or when with better views and freer will beside thee Europe's noblest drew the blade, each emulous in the arms of Ocean Queen to aid. Well, art thou now repaid? Who slowly rise, and struggled long with mists thy blaze of fame, while like the dawn that in the Orient glows, on the broad wave its earlier lustre came, then eastern Egypt saw the growing flame, and Midas' myrtles gleamed beneath its ray, where first the soldier, stung with generous shame, rivalled the heroes of the watery way, and washed in foeman's gore unjust reproach away. Now, Ireland Empress, wave thy crest on high, and bid the banner of thy patron flow. Gallant St. George, the flower of chivalry, for thou halt-faced like him a dragon foe, and rescued innocence from overthrow, and trampled down like him tyrannic might, and to the gazing world mayst proudly show the chosen emblem of thy sainted knight, who quelled the devouring pride and vindicated right. Yet mid the confidence of just renown dear bought, but dearest thus acquired, write, Britain, write the moral lesson down. 'Tis not alone the heart with valour fired, the discipline so dreaded and admired, in many a field of bloody conquest known. Such may by fame be lured, by gold be hired. 'Tis consistency in the good cause alone best justifies the meed thy valiant souls have won. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. For the Fallen by Lawrence Binion, read for LibriVox.org by Cavaet. With proud thanksgiving, a mother for her children, England mourns for her dead across the sea. Flesh of her flesh they were, spirit of her spirit, fallen in the cause of the free. Solemn the drum thrill, death august and royal, sings sorrow up into immortal spheres. There is a music in the mist of desolation, and a glory that shines upon our tears. They went with songs to the battle, they were young, straight of limb, true of eye, steady and aglow. They were staunch to the end against odds uncounted. They fell with their faces to the foe. They shall not grow old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them. They mingle not with their laughing comrades again. They sit no more at familiar tables of home. They have no lot in our labour of the daytime. They sleep beyond England's foam. But where our desires are and our hopes profound, felt as a wellspring that is hidden from sight, to the innermost heart of their own land they are known, as the stars are known to the night. As the stars that shall be bright when we are dust, moving in marches upon the heavenly plain, as the stars that are starry in the time of our darkness, to the end they remain. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Grave and the Rose by Victor Hugo. Read for LibriVox.org by Roger Smith. The Grave and the Rose. The grave said to the rose, "What of the dews of dawn? Love's flower, what end is theirs? And what of spirits flown? The souls whereon doth close the tomb's mouth unawares?" The rose said to the grave. The rose said, and the shade from the dawn's tears is made, a perfume faint and strange, amber and honey sweet, and all the spirits fleet do suffer a sky change, more strangely than the dew to gods on angels new. The grave said to the rose. End of recording. This recording is in the public domain.
Greenness by Angelina Weld Grimke. Read for LibriVox.org by Winston Tharp. Tell me, is there anything lovelier, anything more quieting than the green of little blades of grass and the green of little leaves? Is not each leaf a cool green hand? Is not each blade of grass a mothering green finger, hushing the heart that beats and beats and beats? And a poem. This recording is in the public domain.
In the Valley by Bertrand Harry Snell. From Weird Tales, December 1929. Read for LibriVox by Dale Grothmann. In the Valley by Bertrand Harry Snell. I have seen the valley of gibbering men, down where the soulless dwell, in the viscous sludge of their fog-damned fen, a horror-haunted hell. I have heard the groans of the gruesome ghosts that paddle about in the slime, and watched the dance of the hoary hosts in their pulsing pantomime. Roomy-ribbed rocks of the valley walls, where the green ghoul grasses grow, hold a horrible lure for the one who falls into the pit below. He gazes up at their slimy sides as he lies in his loathsome den, and he knows that here he forever bides in the valley of gibbering men. Hopeless and stricken and rotting they lie, damned to eternity's end. Retching and wretched, they long to die, cursing the eons they spend, down in the depths where the vermin crawl, far from humanity's ken. They shudder and shriek when the black gods call, in the valley of gibbering men. End of In the Valley by Bertrand Harry Snell.
I Saw in Louisiana a Live Oak Growing by Walt Whitman. Read for LibriVox.org by Ruben Hare. I saw in Louisiana a live oak growing. All alone stood it, and the moss hung down from the branches. Without any companion it grew there, uttering joyous leaves of dark green, and its look, rude, unbending, lusty, made me think of myself. But I wondered how it could utter joyous leaves standing alone there without its friend near, for I knew I could not. And I broke off a twig with a certain number of leaves upon it, and twined around it a little moss, and brought it away, and I have placed it in sight in my room. It is not needed to remind me as of my own dear friends, for I believe lately I think of little else than of them. Yet it remains to me a curious token. It makes me think of manly love. For all that, and though the live oak glistens there in Louisiana, solitary, in a wide flat space, uttering joyous leaves all its life without a friend or lover near, I know very well I could not. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Love of Country by Sir Walter Scott. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. Breeds there a man with soul so dead, who never to himself hath said, "This is my own, my native land," whose heart hath ne'er within him burned, as home his footsteps he hath turned from wandering on a foreign strand. If such there breathe, go mark him well, for him no minstrel raptures swell. High though his titles, proud his name, boundless his wealth as wish can claim, despite those titles, power and pelf, the wretch concentred all in self, living shall forfeit fair renown, and doubly dying shall go down to the vile dust from whence he sprung, unwept, unhonored, and unsung. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Lover in Winter Plaineth for the Spring by Anonymous. Read for LibriVox.org by Winston, Tharp. O western wind, when wilt thou blow, that the small rain down can rain? Christ, that my love were in my arms, and I in my bed again. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Marsh Song at Sunset by Sidney Lanier. Read for LibriVox.org by Phil Schempf. Over the monstrous shambling sea, over the Caliban sea, bright aerial cloud, thou lingerest. Oh wait, in the warm red west, thy Prospero I'll be. Over the humped and fishy sea, over the Caliban sea, oh, cloud in the west, like a thought in the heart of pardon, loose thy wing, and start, and do a grace for me. Over the huge and huddling sea, over the Caliban sea, bring hither my brother Antonio, man, my injurer. Night breaks the ban. Brother, I pardon thee. Baltimore, 1879 to 1880. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Midnight Song by Helen Truesdell. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. I am alone, 'tis midnight hour, and midnight breezes fan my brow. How with a deep and holy power are early memories gathering now. Tell me, ye pale and tranquil stars, that in such placid beauty shine, while anguish deep my spirit mars, hold'st thou the lost and loved of mine? Or art thou, like our own dark world, redeemed by precious blood, set free, from thy proud innocence been hurled, didst nail thy Saviour to a tree? Or if thou art what first thou seemed, a heaven where all is bright and fair, where are those loving ones who beamed envisioned loveliness while here? End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Monster by Jovan Jovanovic Smaj. Read for LibriVox.org by Newgatenovelist. In place of the heart, a serpent, rage for the mind's command, an eye aflame with wildness, a weapon in the hand, a brow with midnight clouded, on the lips a cynic smile that tells of a curse unmatchable, born of a sin most vile. Of longing or hope or virtue no vestige may there be. You, even in vice inhuman, what can you want of me? You in its maddest moment, the deepest pit designed, let loose to sow confusion in the order of mankind. Here hatred found you crawling, like vermin, grovelling, prone, filled you with blood of others, and poisoned all your own. Your very thoughts are fiendish, smoke of the fires of hell. Weird as you are, how is it I seem to know you well? Why, with your wild delirium, do you infect my sleep? Why, with my daily footstep, an equal measure keep? The monster mutely beckons me back with his ghostly hand, and dreading his fearful answer, I heed the grim command. Nay, softly, he says, I pray thee, silence thy frightened moan, and wipe the sweat from thy forehead, my kinsman thou, my own. Look at me well, good cousin, such wert thou fashioned of. Thou too wouldst me resemble without that magic, love. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Moon Mockery by Robert E. Howard. Read for LibriVox.org by Tony Scheinman. I walked in Tara's wood one summer night, and saw amid the still, star-haunted skies a slender moon in silver mist arise and hover on the hill as if in fright. Burning, I seized her veil and held her tight. An instant all her glow was in my eyes. Then she was gone, swift as a white bird flies, and I went down the hill in opal light. And soon I was aware, as down I came, that all was strange and new on every side. Strange people went about me to and fro, and when I spoke with trembling mine own name, they turned away. But one man said, "He died in Tara Wood 100 years ago." End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Moor Ghost by Robert E. Howard. Read for LibriVox.org by Tony Scheinman. They haled him to the crossroads as day was at its close. They hung him to the gallows and left him for the crows. His hands in life were bloody, his ghost will not be still. He haunts the naked moorlands about the gibbet hill. And oft a lonely traveller is found upon the fen, whose dead eyes hold a horror beyond the world of men. The villagers then whisper, with accents grim and dour, "This man has met at midnight the phantom of the moor." End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Mysterious Love by Jovan Jovanovic Smile. Read for LibriVox.org by Newgatenovelist. Into the air I breathed a sigh. She, afar, another breathed. Sighs that, like a butterfly, each went wandering low and high, till the air with sighs was wreathed. When each other long they sought, on a star o'er-twinkled hill, Jasmine, trembling with the thought, both within her chalice caught, a lover's potion to distill. Drank of this a nightingale, guided by the starlight wan, drank and sang from dale to dale, till every streamlet did exhale incense to the waking dawn. Like the dawn, the maiden heard, while, afar, I felt the fire in the bosom of the bird. Forth our sighs again were stirred with a sevenfold desire. These we followed, till we learned where they trysted. There ere long their fond nightingale returned. Deeper than our longings burned, deeper the delights of song. Now, when at the wakening hour, sigh to sigh, we greet his lay, well we know its mystic power, feeling dawn and bird and flower, pouring meaning into May. Jasmine, perfume every grove! Nightingale, forever sing to the brightening dawn above, of the mystery of love, in the mystery of spring. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Not Quite the Same by Ella Wheeler Wilcox. Read for LibriVox.org by Theo Douglas. Seattle, Washington, April 2025. Not quite the same. The springtime seems to me, since that sad season when in separate ways our paths diverged. There are no more such days as dawn for us in that lost time when we dwelt in the realm of dreams, elusive dreams. Spring may be just as fair now, but it seems not quite the same. Not quite the same as life, since we two parted, knowing it best to go our ways alone. Fair measures of success we both have known, and pleasant hours. And yet something departed which gold nor fame nor anything we win can all replace. And either life has been not quite the same. Love is not quite the same, although each heart has formed new ties that are both sweet and true. But that wild rapture, which of old we knew, seems to have been a something set apart with that lost dream. There is no passion now mixed with this later love, which seems somehow not quite the same. Not quite the same am I. My inner being reasons and knows that all is for the best, yet vague regrets stir always in my breast. As my soul's eyes turn sadwardly backward, seeing the vanished self that evermore must be, this side of what we call eternity, not quite the same. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
On Self-Knowledge by Khalil Gibran. Read for LibriVox.org by Winston Tharp. And a man said, "Speak to us of self-knowledge." And he answered, saying, "Your hearts know in silence the secrets of the days and the nights, but your ears thirst for the sound of your heart's knowledge. You would know in words that which you have always known in thought. You would touch with your fingers the naked body of your dreams, and it is well you should. The hidden wellspring of your soul must needs rise and run, murmuring to the sea, and the treasure of your infinite depths would be revealed to your eyes. But let there be no scales to weigh your unknown treasure, and seek not the depths of your knowledge with staff or sounding line, for self is a sea boundless and measureless. Say not, I have found the truth, but rather, I have found a truth. Say not, I have found the path of the soul. Say rather, I have met the soul walking upon my path. For the soul walks upon all paths. The soul walks not upon a line, neither does it grow like a reed. The soul unfolds itself like a lotus of countless petals. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Passing of Youth by Frederick Myers. Read for LibriVox.org by Arden. March 15, 2025. The Passing of Youth. Argument. Reflections in the Campo Santo at Pisa. The fresco. Ascribed to Orcagna, which represents death at the festival, suggests the thought that it may be better to die in the flush of youth than to live on into a state of decadence, and disgust with life, 1 to 30. He who thus feels the freshness of youth escaping him cannot renew it by the mere contact with the fresh emotion of others, 31 to 58. His habitual melancholy contrasts painfully with the excesses of grief which alternated with keen joy in his earlier years, 59 to 92. If he now occasionally fancies that the old power of feeling remains to him, the illusion does not last long, and he is fain to acquiesce in the exhaustion of his emotional power, 93 to 114. Yet he can scarcely avoid bitterness at the thought of how small his share of emotional delight has been in comparison with all that the future holds in reserve for mankind, 115 to 146. Sometimes he will shape a vision of some ideal love which might have been his, though well knowing that even should someone be born into the world who realizes his dream, he will have no part in her affections or memories. 147 to 176. Instinctively revolting at the prospect of an approaching extinction, he reviews with alternations of hope and despair the possibility of a future existence. 177 to 222. Light on this subject often seems as unattainable now as in the days when Virgil pondered the same problems. 223 to 240. But certain moments seem to carry with them something of inspired insight or of lofty emotion, which is at any rate the best basis for practice. 241 to 290. At any rate, a man by the sheer effort of the will may maintain himself in that state of inflexible fearlessness which Virgil admires in Lucretius. 291 to 296. The languor and melancholy which the aspect of Pisa symbolizes may be overcome by this resolute courage, this living force of the mind, which Lucretius found strong enough to afford to mankind at least the triumph of intellectual insight and philosophic calm. 297 to 312. Ergo vivida vis animi pervicet. At Pisa, where the cypress spires alway, stand in the languor of the Pisan day, and airs are motionless, and Arno fills with brimming hush the hollow of the hills. There once alone, from noon till evening shade, I paced the echoing cloistral colonnade, heard like a dream the grey rain river fall on hallowed turf that hath the end of all, saw like a ghost the flying form that saith, Orcagna knew me, know me, I am death. Come then, I said, kind death, come ever thus, swift with a sword on young men amorous, and thou, youth, thank her that her wiry wings snatch thee full-blooded from the feast of kings, nor live to outlive thyself, to sigh and know, with waxing restlessness a waning glow, even from those hateful ashes of desire, to feel reborn the cold and fruitless fire, to look and long a little and turn aside, half oversatiate, half unsatisfied. Then is no hope but that thine eyes must see thine inner self stand forth and mock at thee, must watch to death in shadowy convoy roll, thy strength, thy song, thy beauty, and thy soul. No hope, and with what anger shalt thou then look on the glad lives of upspringing men, with hearts still high, and still before them fair, all oceans navigable and ambient air. How shalt thou love, and envy, and despise their hope unreasonable and ardent eyes? Then if some stainless maid desires no more than her fresh soul into thy soul to pour, all her pure glory at thy feet will fling, and give thee youth and ask not anything. Take not the boon elusive, yet I know that thou wilt take, and she will have it so. Nor once alone, but thou in vain shalt see on many a cheek the rose of amity, and for no lasting profit shalt essay on many a heart thy mastering wistful way, and speak thus gently, and regard her thus, with loving eyes a little tyrannous, as though her passion passion's power could give, or heart could melt in heart, or death could live. Alas, in vain shall that love light illume her cheek transparent and her rosy bloom, and hopes that flush and happy thoughts that rise make living lucid sapphire of her eyes, since all is nothing, and aloof, alone, with swirl and severance as of Arve and Rhone, must heart from heart disunder, way from way part, and tomorrow know not of today. So weighs the past upon us, such a thing it is to have grown too wise for comforting, in a few notes to have sung all thy song, and in a few years too have lived too long, till thy mere voice and soulless shadow now recall that this was thine, and this was thou. O sweet young hours, when one divine love yet seemed a new birth thou never couldst forget, when day on day for thee impassioned boy came flooding like a silver sea of joy, so keen that often o'er his eyes would sweep the gracious wings of momentary sleep, to leave their light re-risen, and the brain rekindled for the rapture that was pain. Then griefs wherein no thought of self had part, the just and manful angers of the heart, when hands would clench, and clear cheek light and glow, to be so powerless for another's woe. And young disdain, and love, and generous fears burst in a proud simplicity of tears. Ah, even those pains were noble, strange and pure, as thunders of the breaking calenture, when storm refreshed the bounding river's run, and the oak shakes his diamonds in the sun, nor cares how brightly on the forest flew the wildering levin bolt alive anew. But these succeeding sorrows I compare to the chill ruin of October air, when all earth's life is spent, nor can regain strength in the hopeless pauses of the rain. But scarce the dumb woods shiver, and at a breath falls the one leaf, and then they whisper death. For faiths will die and ancient landmarks fail, and promised Eden grow a lovely tale. And even by length of years, by sheer decay, the fiery flower of love consumes away. No help to seek, and none to blame, but gone, like all things else that men set life upon. Like all that seemed immortal, all that smiled, mixed with the morning glory of the child. Then one at last in cities far away hears late in night lamenting oboes play, sees glittering all in swan's soft order sit, that kingdom's fairest and the pride of it. Till, when one face amid all faces seems lit with the witchery of 1,000 dreams, he wonders, could he change his race and tongue, and once be joyous, and again be young, if leaning o'er that braided golden head, new words and sweeter he should find unsaid, and a last secret and pervading stir, in the soft look and woman ways of her. Nay, the fond dream he would so fain prolong breaks with a shock of intermitting song, and truth returns, and in a single sigh must that faint love be born at once and die. For soon, he saith, will feverish dreams be spent, exhaustion surely shall beget content. I have lost my battle, doubtless it is best to have no longing left me but for rest, in this worn heart, with some last loves to seize, to make a solitude and call it peace. Yet when a wave of happy laughter low stirs in his soul the deep of long ago, when his world-wearied ears have overheard from sweet new lips a sweet accustomed word, then all awakes again, and worse than naught seem the best passions which his youth has brought. Being such a drop in so profound a sea, having given one glimpse of love's supremacy, shown at a glance what great delight shall come when his eyes see not and his lips are dumb. How many a glorious joy forever missed, how many words unspoken, lips unkissed, eyes that shall yet renew with softer play through many a century the world-old way, hearts from whose glow shall glory of love be shed, round hearts still living, and o'er his tomb long dead. Man, while thou mayest, love on, with sound and flowers, make maddening moments into maddening hours. Let hours aflame enkindle as they fly those loves of yore that in thy darkness die. Blessed in that glamour could all life be spent before the dawn and disillusionment. Love on, thy far-off children shall possess that flying gleam of rainbow happiness. Each wish unfilled, impracticable plan goes to the forging of the force of man. Through thy blind craving novel powers they gain, and the slow race develops in its pain. See their new joy begotten of thy woe, when what thy soul desired their soul shall know. Thy heights unclimbed shall be their wonted way, thy hope their memory, and thy dream their day. Ah, but I had a vision once, nor dare recall it often, lest it melt in air. Whose was the face that through the shadows came, and shook the dew from hair that waved like flame? What made her look, Ariel? I, her shed divineness on that visionary head? And whence the words that on her silence hung, looked through her eyes and died upon her tongue? Love, who had dreamt it, who had dared to say our bliss could come so close and flee away? Not even the night shall know her, it may be. Some falling star would speak it to the sea. Then the sea's voice would to the shore declare the hidden sweetness of the first and fair, and fisher maidens into morn prolong for love the amorous echoes of the song. Yet if indeed that dear face fugitive, the dream begotten in the day shall live, and through night's spaces floats the lovely shade before the birth and body of the maid, how sweet it were to die and still be strong, to clasp her close with grave and mastering song, that she with no interpreter might see the sincere man and hidden heart of thee, and down her soft cheek happy tears might roll, hearing the dead voice of the sister soul. How slight and how impossible a boon, I ask, and love too late, or live too soon. Only the brief regret, the grace of sighs, I ask, can fate deny it? Fate denies. Crushed, as by following wave the wave before, to have lived and loved so little, and live no more. Call this not sleep, through sweet sleep's longest scope, runs in a golden dream unconscious hope. Hope parts the lips and stirs the happy breath, and sleep is sleep, but endless death is death. Hereat the soul will evermore recur to that great chance which makes herself for her, if but the least light glimmer and least hope glow, from that unseen place which no soul can know, whereof so many a sage hath spun in vain thoughts fancy fashioned in a dreaming brain, whereof the priests, for all they say and sing, know none the more, nor hope in anything. Nor more herein can man to man avail than to his sorrowing mate the nightingale. Nor more can brother unto brother tell than blind who leads the blind, though loving well. If by some gleam unearthly indeed be lit that land, and God the sun and moon of it, how easy then, how possible to bear the thoughts that come at night in our despair, youth wasted, hopes decaying, friends untrue, life with no faith to follow or deed to do, love's lost, and waning joys, and wait to gain the old unquenchable relapse of pain, and through these all the ceaseless fruitless fire, the upward heavenward flickering fierce desire, the thrilling pain, the tremor of unrest, the quickening God unborn within the breast, which none believe but who have felt, and they feel evermore by night and in the day. For though in early youth such longing rose, this single passion gathers as it goes, and this at dawn wakes with thee, this at even hangs in the kindling canopies of heaven, this, like a hidden water's running tune, revives the wistful pause of afternoon. For strength is this, and weakness, hope and fear, by turns, as far sometimes anear, glows thee great hope, which all too oft will seem a false inherited delightful dream, dreamt of our fathers for blind ease, which we, knowing that they knew not, seeing they could not see, must wake from and have done with, and be brave, without a heaven to hope or God to save. O sighs that strongly from my bosom flew! O heart's oblation sacrificed anew! O groans and tears of all men and of mine! O many midnights prostrate and supine, unbearable and profitless, and spent for the empty furtherance of a vain intent, from God or nothingness, from heaven or hell, to wrest the secret that they would not tell, to grasp a life beyond life's shrinking span, and learn at last the chief concerns of man. O last hope when all the rest are flown! O one thing worth the knowing, and still unknown! O sought so passionately, and found no more today than when the sad voice sang of yore! How God the innumerous souls in great array to Lethe summons by a wondrous way, till these therein their ancient pain forgive, forget their life, and will again to live. Yet in some hours when earth and heaven are fair, in some sabbatical repose of air, when all has passed that dizzied or defiled, and thy clear soul comes to thee as a child, then incorruptible, unending, free, like the moon's golden road upon the sea, the light of life on unbewildered eyes, a moment dawns, and in a moment dies. So dimly glad may some lone heart recall, perchance a magic end of evenfall, when far on misty fells the moon has made an argent fleece, and neither shine nor shade. Hills beyond hills she silvers as she sails, hills beyond hills, and valleys in the vales, till they that float and watch her scarcely feel the liquid darkness tremble at the keel, beholding scarce behold her, hardly dare to look one look through that enchanted air, lest some unknown God should no longer hide his glory from his creatures glorified, should shine too manifest, too soon display to eyes that dream the immeasurable day. Remember, I remember, hast not thou, hours in the past more living than all life now? 1 hour, perchance, that through the hush of fate in shadowy veil came to thee consecrate, known without knowledge, felt without a name, and life brings other hours, but not the same. This, then, was revelation, this shall be thy crown of youth and star of memory. Strong in this strength the ennobled years shall run, and life grow single, and thy will be one. I, like great passages in order played, shall changeful life grow one and unafraid. For these are one and many, and though sometimes the bell-like melodizing rings and rhymes, and warbles such a whisper now and then, too sweet and scarce endurable to men, yet on through all the tune returns the same embattled resonance of flooding flame, and dies to live again, and wins, and still rules the great notes and sways them as it will. Thus let thy life through all adventure go, and keep it masterful, and save it so, not reared too separate, nor lulled too long by the incommunicable trance of song, nor over amorous, nay, nor overset too sweetly by the fain and fond regret, the afterthought of kisses and the tear for love's whom day disparts and dreams bring near. Since what man is, man knows not, but he knows that his one will is like a trump that blows. While breath is in him, it can clarion well heaven sweet, and heard above the roar of hell. Aye, fate and fear beneath his feet are thrown, all fears and fates, and hell's insatiate moan. Then, Pisa, let thy sullen airs o'erhead lull that unaltering city of the dead. Let swimming Arno, hushed at last like thee, draw to his doom and gather to the sea. Fold upon fold let rainy evening roll, and thy deep bell strike death upon the soul. There is a courage that from need began, and grows what will, and is at last the man, which on through storm, through darkness, through despair, hopes and will hope, and dares, and still can dare. And this is virtue, and thou canst not bind, O death, this living spirit of the mind, which far aloof, the Roman verses say, holds an unseen, illimitable way, far, far aloof can sail with wings unfurled, beyond the flaming rampire of the world. 1871-72. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Pied Piper of Hamelin by Robert Browning. Read for LibriVox.org by Tony Scheinman. Hamelin Towns in Brunswick by famous Hanover City. The river Weser, deep and wide, washes its wall on the southern side. A pleasanter spot you never spied. But when begins my ditty? Almost 500 years ago. To see the townsfolk suffer so from vermin, 'twas a pity. Rats! They fought the dogs and killed the cats, and bit the babies in the cradles, and ate the cheeses out of the vats, and licked the soup from the cook's own ladles, split open the kegs of salted sprats, made nests inside men's Sunday hats, and even spoiled the women's chats by drowning their speaking with shrieking and squeaking in 50 different sharps and flats. At last the people in a body to the town hall came flocking. "'Tis clear," they cried, "our mayors are naughty, and as for our corporation, shocking. To think we buy gowns lined with ermine for dolts that can't or won't determine what's best to rid us of our vermin. You hope, because you're old and obese, to find in the very civic robe ease? Rouse up, sirs! Give your brains a racking to find the remedy we're lacking, or sure as fate, we'll send you packing!" At this the mayor and corporation quaked with a mighty consternation. An hour they sate in council. At length the mayor broke silence. "For a guilder I'd mine ermine gown sell. I wish I were a mile hence. It's easy to bid one rack one's brain. I'm sure my poor head aches again. I've scratched it so, and all in vain. Oh, for a trap, a trap, a trap!" Just as he said this, what should hap at the chamber door but a gentle tap? "Bless us!" cried the mayor. "What's that?" With the corporation as he sat, looking little though wondrous fat, nor brighter was his eye nor moister than a too long opened oyster, save when at noon his paunch grew mutinous for a plate of turtle green and glutinous. "Only a scraping of shoes on the mat? Anything like the sound of a rat makes my heart go pit-a-pat." "Come in," the mayor cried, looking bigger. And in did come the strangest figure. His queer long coat, from heel to head, was half of yellow and half of red, and he himself was tall and thin, with sharp blue eyes, each like a pin, and light loose hair, yet swarthy skin, no tuft on cheek, nor beard on chin, but lips where smile went out and in. There was no guessing his kith and kin, and nobody could enough admire the tall man and his quaint attire. Quoth one,
It's as my great-grandsire, starting up at the trump of Doomstone, had walked this way from his painted tombstone.
He advanced to the council table, and, "Please, your honours," said he, "I'm able, by means of a secret charm, to draw all creatures living beneath the sun that creep or swim or fly or run after me, so as you never saw, and I chiefly use my charm on creatures that do people harm, the mole and toad and newt and viper, and people call me the Pied Piper." And here they noticed round his neck a scarf of red and yellow stripe, to match with his coat of the self-same check, and at the scarf's end hung a pipe, and his fingers they noticed were ever straying, as if impatient to be playing upon his pipe, as low it dangled over his vesture so old-fangled. "Yet," said he, "poor piper as I am, in Tartary I freed the Cham last June from his huge swarms of gnats. I eased in Asia the Nizam of a monstrous brood of vampire bats. And as for what your brain bewilders, if I can rid your town of rats, will you give me 1,000 guilders?"
150,000!
was the exclamation of the astonished mayor and corporation. Into the street the piper stepped, smiling first a little smile, as if he knew what magic slept in his quiet pipe the while. Then, like a musical adept, to blow the pipe his lips he wrinkled, and green and blue his sharp eyes twinkled, like a candle flame where salt is sprinkled. And ere 3 shrill notes the pipe uttered, you heard as if an army muttered, and the muttering grew to a grumbling, and the grumbling grew to a mighty rumbling, and out of the houses the rats came tumbling. Great rats, small rats, lean rats, brawny rats, brown rats, black rats, grey rats, tawny rats, grave old plodders, gay young friskers, fathers, mothers, uncles, cousins, cocking tails and pricking whiskers, families by tens and dozens, mothers, sisters, husbands, wives, followed the piper for their lives. From street to street he piped advancing, and step for step they followed dancing, until they came to the river Weser, wherein all plunged and perished, save one, who, stout as Julius Caesar, swam across, and lived to carry, as he the manuscript he cherished, to Ratland home his commentary, which was, "At the first shrill notes of the pipe, I heard a sound as of scraping tripe, and putting apples, wondrous ripe, into a cider press's gripe, and a moving away of pickle tub boards, and a leaving a jar of conserve cupboards, and a drawing the corks of train oil flasks, and a breaking the hoops of butter casks. And it seemed as if a voice, sweeter far than by harp or by psaltery is breathed, called out, 'O rats, rejoice! The world is grown to one vast dry psaltery. So munch on, crunch on, take your nuncheon, breakfast, supper, dinner, luncheon. And just as a bulky sugar puncheon, already staved, like a great sun shone glorious scarce an inch before me, just as methought it said, Come, bore me. I found the Weser rolling o'er me." You should have heard the Hamelin people ringing the bells till they rocked the steeple. "Go!" cried the mayor.
and get long poles, poke out the nests and block up the holes, consult with carpenters and builders, and leave in our town not a trace of the rats. When suddenly up the face of the piper perked in the marketplace, with a "First, if you please, my 1,000 guilders." 1,000 guilders? The mayor looked blue. So did the corporation, too, for council dinners made rare havoc with claret, moselle, vin de grave, hock, and half the money would replenish their cellar's biggest butt with Rhenish. To pay this sum to a wandering fellow with a gypsy coat of red and yellow? "Besides," quoth the mayor with a knowing wink, "our business was done at the river's brink. We saw with our eyes the vermin sink, and what's dead can't come to life, I think. So, friend, we're not the folks to shrink from the duty of giving you something to drink, and a matter of money to put in your poke. But as for the guilders, what we spoke of them, as you very well know, was in joke. Besides, our losses have made us thrifty. 1,000 guilders. Oh, come, take 50. The piper's face fell, and he cried, "No trifling! I can't wait. Beside, I've promised to visit by dinner-time Baghdad, and accept the prime of the head cook's pottage, all he's rich in, for having left in the caliph's kitchen of a nest of scorpions no survivor. With him I prove no bargain driver. With you, don't think I'll bait a stiver. And folks who put me in a passion may find me pipe after another fashion." "How?" cried the mayor. "D'ye think I brook being worse treated than a cook? Insulted by a lazy ribald with idle pipe and vesture piebald? You threaten us, fellow. Do your worst. Blow your pipe there till you burst." Once more he stepped into the street, and to his lips again laid his long pipe of smooth straight cane. And ere he blew 3 notes, such sweet, soft notes as yet musician's cunning never gave the enraptured air, there was a rustling that seemed like a bustling of merry crowds justling at pitching and hustling. Small feet were pattering, wooden shoes clattering, little hands clapping, and little tongues chattering. And like fowls in a farmyard when barley is scattering, out came the children, running, all the little boys and girls, with rosy cheeks and flaxen curls, and sparkling eyes and teeth like pearls, tripping and skipping, ran merrily after the wonderful music, with shouting and laughter. The mayor was dumb, and the council stood as if they were changed into blocks of wood, unable to move a step or cry to the children merrily skipping by, could only follow with the eye that joyous crowd at the piper's back. But how the mayor was on the rack, and the wretched council's bosoms beat, as the piper turned from the high street to where the Weser rolled its waters, right in the way of their sons and daughters. However, he turned from south to west, and to Koppelberg Hill his steps addressed, and after him the children pressed. Great was the joy in every breast. He never can cross that mighty top. He's forced to let the piping drop, and we shall see our children stop. When lo, as they reached the mountainside, a wondrous portal opened wide, as if a cavern were suddenly hollowed. And the piper advanced, and the children followed. And when all were in, to the very last, the door in the mountainside shut fast. Did I say all? No. One was lame, and could not dance the whole of the way. And in after years, if you would blame his sadness, he was used to say, "It's dull in our town since my playmates left. I can't forget that I'm bereft of all the pleasant sights they see, which the piper also promised me. For he led us, he said, to a joyous land, joining the town and just at hand, where waters gushed and fruit trees grew, and flowers put forth a fairer hue, and everything was strange and new. The sparrows were brighter than peacocks here, and their dogs outran our fallow deer, and honey bees had lost their stings, and horses were born with eagles' wings. And just as I became assured my lame foot would be speedily cured, the music stopped, and I stood still, and found myself outside the hill, left alone against my will, to go now limping as before, and never hear of that country more. Alas, alas for Hamelin! There came into many a burgher's pate a text which says that heaven's gate opes to the rich at as easy rate as the needle's eye takes a camel in. The mayor sent east, west, north, and south to offer the piper by word of mouth, wherever it was men's lot to find him, gold and silver to his heart's content, if only he'd return the way he went, and bring the children behind him. But when they saw 'twas a lost endeavor, and piper and dancers were gone forever, they made a decree that lawyers never should think their records dated duly, if, after the day of the month and year, these words did not as well appear. And so long after what happened here, on the 22nd of July, 1376. And the better in memory to fix the place of the children's last retreat, they called it the Pied Piper's Street, where anyone playing on pipe or tabor was sure for the future to lose his labor. Nor suffered they hostelry or tavern to shock with mirth a street so solemn. But opposite the place of the cavern, they wrote the story on a column, and on the great church window painted the same, to make the world acquainted how their children were stolen away. And there it stands to this very day. And I must not omit to say that in Transylvania there's a tribe of alien people that ascribe the outlandish ways and dress, on which their neighbors lay such stress, to their fathers and mothers having risen out of some subterraneous prison, into which they were trepanned long ago in a mighty band, out of Hamelin town, in Brunswick land. But how, or why, they don't understand. So, Willie, let me and you be wipers of scores out with all men, especially pipers, and whether they pipe us free from rats or from mice, if we've promised them aught, let us keep our promise. End of The Pied Piper of Hamelin. This recording is in the public domain.
Press On by Park Benjamin. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. Press on, surmount the rocky steeps, climb boldly o'er the torrent's arch. He fails alone who feebly creeps, he wins who dares the hero's march. Be thou a hero, let thy might tramp on eternal snows its way, and through the ebon walls of night hew down a passage unto day. Press on, if once and twice thy feet slip back and stumble, harder try. From him who never dreads to meet danger and death, they're sure to fly. To coward ranks the bullet speeds, while on their breasts who never quail gleams guardian of chivalric deeds, bright courage like a coat of mail. Press on. If fortune play thee false today, tomorrow she'll be true. Whom now she sinks, she now exalts, taking old gifts and granting new. The wisdom of the present hour makes up the follies past and gone. To weakness strength succeeds, and power from frailty springs. Press on, press on. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Queen Mab by Thomas Hood. Read for LibriVox.org by Ike Sherr. A little fairy comes at night. Her eyes are blue, her hair is brown, with silver spots upon her wings, and from the moon she flutters down. She has a little silver wand, and when a good child goes to bed, she waves her hand from right to left, and makes a circle round its head. And then it dreams of pleasant things, of fountains filled with fairy fish, and trees that bear delicious fruit, and bow their branches at a wish, of arbours filled with dainty scents, from lovely flowers that never fade, bright flies that glitter in the sun, and glowworms shining in the shade, and talking birds with gifted tongues, for singing songs and telling tales, and pretty dwarfs to show the way through fairy hills and fairy dales. But when a bad child goes to bed, from left to right she weaves her rings, and then it dreams all through the night of only ugly, horrid things. Then lions come with glaring eyes, and tigers growl a dreadful noise, and ogres draw their cruel knives to shed the blood of girls and boys. Then stormy waves rush on to drown, or raging flames come scorching round. Fierce dragons hover in the air, and serpents crawl along the ground. Then wicked children wake and weep, and wish the long black gloom away. But good ones love the dark, and find the night as pleasant as the day. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Realm of Rest by Evelyn Martin Purvis. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. 'Tis strange our hopes are realized so late, and that the fondest oft seem kept by fate. 'Tis strange we struggle so in pride and fear, and waste our lives in fruitless effort here. 'Tis strange we look to worldly things for rest, and that we cannot say, Thy will is best. 'Tis strange how restless we should ever grow. 'Tis strange that we of earth no peace can know. No peace can know? Oh, list to the voice of one who calls to burdened man, and bids him come where hearts are thankful and know no wrong, and sing in glad triumph the whole day long. This realm is the realm where the Saviour dwells. 'Tis the plain of his love, and he digs his wells like Abram of old, and sweet waters flow in streams of plenty to all who go in response to the Spirit and Bride, who forever are calling across the tide, Come, O come and with me abide. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Rondel by Francois Villon. Read for LibriVox.org by Roger Smith. Rondel. Goodbye, the tears are in my eyes. Farewell, farewell, my prettiest. Farewell, of women born the best. Goodbye, the saddest of goodbyes. Farewell, with many vows and sighs. My sad heart leaves you to your rest. Farewell, the tears are in my eyes. Farewell, from you my miseries are more now than may be confessed, and most by thee have I been blessed. Yea, and for thee have wasted sighs. Goodbye, the last of my goodbyes. End of recording. This recording is in the public domain. Rondel by Charles D'Orleans. Read for LibriVox.org by Roger Smith. Rondel. Strengthen, my love, this castle of my heart, and with some store of pleasure give me aid. For jealousy, with all them of his part, strong siege about the weary tower has laid. Nay, if to break his bands thou art afraid, too weak to make his cruel force depart, strengthen at least this castle of my heart, and with some store of pleasure give me aid. Nay, let not jealousy for all his art be master and the tower in ruin laid, that still, ah love, thy gracious rule obeyed. Advance and give me succor of thy part. Strengthen, my love, this castle of my heart. End of recording. This recording is in the public domain.
Rosalind's Madrigal by Thomas Lodge. Read for LibriVox.org by Ike Sherr. From Rosalind. Love in my bosom like a bee doth suck his sweet. Now with his wings he plays with me, now with his feet. Within mine eyes he makes his nest his bed amidst my tender breast. My kisses are his daily feast, and yet he robs me of my rest. Ah, wanton will ye? And if I sleeps, then percheth he with pretty flight, and makes his pillow of my knee the livelong night. Strike I my lute, he tunes the string. He music plays, if so I sing. He lends me every lovely thing, yet cruel he my heart doth sting. Whilst wanton still ye. Else I with roses every day will whip you hence, and bind you when you long to play for your offence. I'll shut mine eyes to keep you in. I'll make you fast it for your sin. I'll count your power not worth a pin. Alas, what hereby shall I win if he gainsay me? What if I beat the wanton boy with many a rod? He will repay me with annoy because a god. Then sit thou safely on my knee, then let thy bower my bosom be. Lurk in mine eyes, I like of thee. O Cupid, so thou pity me, spare not, but play thee. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Simple Simon by Mother Goose. Read for LibriVox.org by Ike Sherr. Simple Simon met a pieman going to the fair. Says Simple Simon to the pieman, let me taste your ware. Said the pieman to Simple Simon, show me first your penny. Says Simple Simon to the pieman, indeed, I have not any. Simple Simon went a-fishing for to catch a whale. All the water he had got was in his mother's pail. Simple Simon went to look if plums grew on a thistle. He pricked his fingers very much, which made poor Simon whistle. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Sonnets by George Santayana. Read for LibriVox.org by Arden. January 24, 2025. Sonnets.
First Series.
1. I saw on earth a garden of delight, where island altar to the sea and air, where gentle music were accounted prayer, and reason, veiled, performed the happy rite. My sad youth worshipped at the piteous height, where God vouchsafed the death of man to share. His love made mortal sorrow light to bear,
but his deep wounds put joy to shame and flight.
And though his arms, outstretched upon the tree, were beautiful and pleaded my embrace, my sins were loath to look upon his face. So came I down from Golgotha to thee, eternal mother. Let the sun and sea heal me and keep me in thy dwelling place. 2. Slow and reluctant was the long descent, with many farewell pious looks behind, and dumb misgivings where the path might wind, and questionings of nature as I went. The greener branches that above me bent, the broadening valleys quieted my mind, to the fair reasons of the spring inclined, and to the summer's tender argument. But sometimes, as revolving night descended, and in my childish heart the new song ended, I lay down, full of longing, on the steep, and, haunting still the lonely way I wended, into my dreams the ancient sorrow blended, and with these holy echoes charm my sleep. 3. O world, thou choosest not the better part. It is not wisdom to be only wise, and on the inward vision close the eyes, but it is wisdom to believe the heart. Columbus found a world and had no chart, save one that faith deciphered in the skies. To trust the soul's invincible surmise was all his science and his only art. Our knowledge is a torch of smoky pine that lights the pathway but one step ahead, across a void of mystery and dread. Bid, then, the tender light of faith to shine, by which alone the mortal heart is led unto the thinking of the thought divine. 4. I would I had been born in nature's day, when man was in the world a wide-eyed boy, and clouds of sorrow crossed his sky of joy, to scatter dewdrops on the buds of May. Then could he work and love and fight and pray, nor heart sick grow and fortune's long employ. Mighty to build and ruthless to destroy, he lived, while masked death unquestioned lay. Now ponder we the ruins of the years, and groan beneath the weight of boasted gain. No unsung bacchanal can charm our ears, and lead our dances to the woodland fane. No hope of heaven sweeten our few tears, and hush the importunity of pain. 5. Dreamt I today the dream of yesternight, sleep ever feigning one evolving theme. Of my two lives, which should I call the dream? Which action vanity, which vision sight? Some greater waking must pronounce aright, if aught abideth of the things that seem, and with both currents swell the flooded stream into an ocean infinite of light. Even such a dream I dream, and know full well my waking passeth like a midnight spell, but know not if my dreaming breaketh through into the deeps of heaven and of hell. I know but this of all I would I knew: truth is a dream, unless my dream is true. 6. Love not as do the flesh-imprisoned men, whose dreams are of a bitter-brought caress, or even of a maiden's tenderness, whom they love only that she loves again. For it is but thyself thou lovest then, or what thy thoughts would glory to possess. But love thou nothing thou wouldst love the less, if henceforth ever hidden from thy ken. Love but the formless and eternal whole, from whose effulgence one unheeded ray breaks on this prism of dissolving clay into the flickering colors of thy soul. These flash and vanish, bid them not to stay, for wisdom brightens as they fade away. 7. I would I might forget that I am I, and break the heavy chain that binds me fast, whose links about myself my deeds have cast. What in the body's tomb doth buried lie is boundless, 'tis the spirit of the sky, lord of the future, guardian of the past, and soon must forth to know his own at last. In his large life to live, I fain would die, happy the dumb beast hungering for food, but calling not his suffering his own. Blessed the angel gazing on all good, but knowing not he sits upon a throne. Wretched the mortal, pondering his mood, and doomed to know his aching heart alone. 8. O martyred spirit of this helpless whole, who dost by pain for tyranny atone, and in the star, the atom, and the stone, purgest the primal guilt, and in the soul, rich but in grief, thou dost thy wealth unroll, and givest of thy substance to thine own, mingling the love, the laughter, and the groan, in the large hollow of the heaven's bowl. Fill full my cup, the dregs and honeyed brim, I take from thy just hand, more worthy love, for sweetening not the draught for me or him. What in myself I am, that let me prove. Relent not for my feeble prayer, nor dim the burning of thine altar for my hymn. 9. Have patience. It is fit that in this wise the spirit purge away its proper dross. No endless fever doth thy watches toss, for by excess of evil, evil dies. Soon shall the faint world melt before thine eyes, and all life's losses cancelled by life's loss. Thou shalt lay down all burdens on thy cross, and be that day with God in paradise. Have patience, for a long eternity. No summons woke thee from thy happy sleep. For love of God one vigil thou canst keep, and add thy drop of sorrow to the sea. Having known grief, all will be well with thee. Aye, and thy second slumber will be deep. 10. Have I the heart to wander on the earth, so patient in her everlasting course, seeking no prize, but bowing to the force that gives direction and hath given birth? Rain tears, sweet pity, to refresh my dearth, and plough my sterile bosom sharp remorse, that I grow sick and curse my being's source, if haply one day passes lacking mirth. Doth the sun therefore burn, that I may bask, or do the tired earth and tireless sea,
that toil not for their pleasure, toil for me?
Amid the world's long striving, wherefore ask what reasons were, or what rewards shall be? The covenant God gave us is a task. 11. Deem not, because you see me in the press of this world's children run my fated race, that I blaspheme against a proffered grace, or leave unlearned the love of holiness. I honor not that sanctity the less, whose aureole illumines not my face, but dare not tread the secret holy place, to which the priest and prophet have access. For some are born to be beatified, by anguish and by grievous penance done, and some to furnish forth the age's pride, and to be praised of men beneath the sun, and some are born to stand perplexed aside, from so much sorrow, of whom I am one. 12. Mightier storms than this are brewed on earth, that pricks the crystal lake with summer showers. The past hath treasure of sublimer hours, and God is witness to their changeless worth. Big is the future with portentous birth, of battles numberless, and nature's powers outdo my dreams of beauty in the flowers, and top my revels with the demon's mirth. But thou, glad river that hast reached the plain, scarce wakes the rushes to a slumberous sigh. The mountains sleep behind thee, and the main awaits thee, lulling in eternal pain, with patience, nor doth Phoebe, throned on high, the mirror of thy placid heart disdain. 13. Sweet are the days we wander with no hope, along life's labyrinthine trodden way, with no impatience at the steep's delay, nor sorrow at the swift descended slope. Why this inane curiosity to grope in the dim dust for gems' unmeaning ray? Why this proud piety that dares to pray for a world wider than the heavens cope? Farewell, my burden, no more will I bear the foolish load of my fond fate's despair, but trip the idle race with careless feet. The crown of olive let another wear, it is my crown to mock the runner's heat, with gentle wonder and with laughter sweet. 14. There may be chaos still around the world, this little world that in my thinking lies, for mine own bosom is the paradise, where all my life's fair visions are unfurled. Within my nature's shell I slumber curled, unmindful of the changing outer skies, where now, perchance, some new-born Eros flies, or some old Kronos from his throne is hurled. I heed them not, or if the subtle night haunt me with deities I never saw, I soon mine eyelids' drowsy curtain draw, to hide their myriad faces from my sight. They threat in vain, the whirlwind cannot awe A happy snowflake dancing in the flaw. 15.
A wall around my garden rare.
And hedge me in from the disconsolate hills. Give me but one of all the mountain rills. Enough of ocean in its voice I hear. Come no profane, insatiate mortal near, with the contagion of his passionate ills. The smoke of battle all the valleys fills. Let the eternal sunlight greet me here. This spot is sacred to the deeper soul, and to the piety that mocks no more. In nature's inmost heart is no uproar, none in this shrine. In peace the heavens roll, in peace the slow tides pulse from shore to shore, and ancient quiet broods from pole to pole. 16. 1,000 beauties that have never been haunt me with hope and tempt me to pursue. The gods, methinks, dwell just behind the blue. The satyrs at my coming fled the green. The flitting shadows of the grove between. The dryad's eyes were winking, and I knew the wings of sacred Eros as he flew, and left me to the love of things not seen. 'Tis a sad love, like an eternal prayer, and knows no keen delight, no faint surcease. Yet from the seasons hath the earth increase, and heaven shines as if the gods were there. Had Dian passed, there could no deeper peace embalm the purple stretches of the air. 17. There was a time when in the teeth of fate I flung the challenge of the spirit's right. The child, the dreamer of that visioned night, woke and was humbled unto man's estate. A slave I am, on sun and moon I wait, who heed not that I live upon their light. Me they despise, but are themselves so bright, they flood my heart with love and quench my hate. O subtle beauty, sweet persuasive worth, that didst the love of being first inspire, we do thee homage both in death and birth. Thirsting for thee, we die in thy great dearth, or borrow breath of infinite desire, to chase thine image through the haunted earth. 18. Blaspheme not love, ye lovers, nor dispraise the wise divinity that makes you blind, sealing the eyes, but showing to the mind the high perfection from which nature strays. For love is God, and in unfathomed ways brings forth the beauty for which fancy pined. I loved and lost my love among mankind, but I have found it after many days. Oh, trust in God, and banish rash despair. That feigning evil is itself the curse. My angel is come back, more sad and fair, and witness to the truth of love I bear, with too much rapture for this sacred verse, at the exceeding answer to my prayer. 19. Above the battlements of heaven rise the glittering domes of thee, God's golden dwelling, whence, like a constellation, passion quelling, the truth of all things feeds immortal eyes. There are all forgotten dreams of paradise, from the deep caves of memory upwelling, all tender joys beyond our dim foretelling, heart ever bright beneath the flooded skies. There we live o'er, amid angelic powers, our lives without remorse, as if not ours, and others' lives but love, as if our own. For we behold from those eternal towers the deathless beauty of all winged hours, and have our being in their truth alone. 20. These strewn thoughts, by the mountain pathway sprung, I conned for comfort, till I ceased to grieve. And with these flowering thorns I dare to weave the crown, great mother, on thine altar hung. Teach thou a larger speech to my loose tongue, and to mine opened eyes thy secrets give, that in thy perfect love I learn to live, and in thine immortality be young. The soul is not on earth an alien thing, that hath her life's rich sources otherwhere. She is a parcel of the sacred air. She takes her being from the breath of spring. The glance of Phoebus is her fount of light, and her long sleep a draught of primal night. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Sunny Days by Cora C. Bass. Read for LibriVox.org by mleigh. Of course we value sunny days and all of nature's pleasant ways. The merry birds, the balmy sky, the happy brooklet laughing by. With the clouds come darker hours, good for us as for the flowers. How bright the meadow after rain, how calm the heart is after pain. We owe indeed a wondrous debt to every trouble bravely met, a debt that no one ever pays. Our thanks are for the sunny days. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Sunrise by Sidney Lanier, read for LibriVox.org by Phil Schempf. In my sleep I was fain of their fellowship, fain of the live oak, the marsh, the main. The little green leaves would not let me alone in my sleep. Upbreathed from the marshes, a message of range and of sweep, interwoven with waftures of wild sea liberties, drifting, came through the lapped leaves sifting, came to the gates of sleep. Then my thoughts, in the dark of the dungeon keep, of the castle of captives hid in the city of sleep, upstarted, by twos and by threes assembling. The gates of sleep fell a-trembling, like as the lips of a lady that forth falter yes. Shaken with happiness, the gates of sleep stood wide. I have waked, I have come, my beloved, I might not abide. I have come ere the dawn, O beloved, my live oaks, to hide in your gospeling glooms, to be, as a lover in heaven, the marsh my marsh, and the sea my sea. Tell me, sweet burly-barked, man-bodied tree, that mine arms in the dark are embracing. Dost know from what fount are these tears at thy feet which flow? They rise not from reason, but deeper inconsequent deeps. Reason's not one that weeps. What logic of greeting lies betwixt dear over beautiful trees and the rain of the eyes? O cunning green leaves, little masters, I like as ye gloss all the dull tissued dark with your luminous darts, that emboss the vague blackness of night into pattern and plan. So, but would I could know, with your question embroidering the dark of the question of man, so with your silences purfling this silence of man, while his cry to the dead for some knowledge is under the ban. So ye have wrought me designs on the night of our knowledge. Yea, ye have taught me, so that haply we know somewhat more than we know. Ye lispers, whisperers, singers in storms, ye consciences murmuring faiths under forms, ye ministers meet for each passion that grieves, friendly, sisterly, sweetheart leaves. Oh, rain me down from your darks that contain me, wisdoms ye winnow from winds that pain me. Sift down tremors of sweet within sweet, that advise me of more than they bring. Repeat me the wood smell that swiftly but now brought breath from the heaven-side bank of the river of death. Teach me the terms of silence, preach me the passion of patience, sift me, impeach me, and there, oh there, as ye hang with your myriad palms upturned in the air, pray me a myriad prayer. My gossip, the owl, is it thou that out of the leaves of the low-hanging bough, as I passed to the beach, art stirred? Dumb woods, have ye uttered a bird? Reverend Marsh, low couched along the sea, old chemist, wrapped in alchemy, distilling silence, lo, that which our father age had died to know, the menstruum that dissolves all matter, thou hast found it, for this silence filling now the globed clarity of receiving space. This solves us all, man, matter, doubt, disgrace, death, love, sin, sanity, must in yon silence clear solution lie, too clear, that crystal nothing who'll peruse. The blackest night could bring us brighter news, yet precious qualities of silence haunt round these vast margins. Ministrant, Oh, if thy soul's at latter gasp for space, with trying to breathe no bigger than thy race, just to be fellowed, when that thou hast found no man with room or grace enough of bound to entertain that new thou tellest thou art. 'Tis here thou canst unhand thy heart, and breathe it free, by rangy marsh in lone sea liberty. The tide's at full, the marsh with flooded streams glimmers, a limpid labyrinth of dreams. Each winding creek in grave entrancement lies, a rhapsody of morning stars. The skies shine scant with one forked galaxy. The marsh brags 10, looped on his breast they lie. Oh, what if a sound should be made? Oh, what if a bound should be laid to this bow and string tension of beauty and silence a-springing, to bend the beauty of the bow o'er the hold of silence the string? I fear me yon dome of diaphanous gleam will break as a bubble overblown in a dream. Yon dome of too tenuous tissues of space and of night, overweighted with stars, overfreighted with light, oversated with beauty and silence, will seem but a bubble that broke in a dream, if a bound of degree to this grace be laid, or a sound or a motion made. But no, it is made, list, somewhere, mystery, where? In the leaves, in the air, in my heart? Is a motion made? 'Tis a motion of dawn, like a flicker of shade on shade. In the leaves 'tis palpable, low multitudinous stirring upwinds through the woods. The little ones, softly conferring, have settled my lords to be looked for, so they are still. But the air and my heart and the earth are athrill, and look where the wild duck sails round the bend of the river, and look where a passionate shiver, expectant, is bending the blades of the marsh grass in serial shimmers and shades, and invisible wings, fast fleeting, are beating the dark overhead as my heart beats, and steady and free is the ebb tide flowing from marsh to sea. Run home, little streams, with your lapfuls of stars and dreams, and a sailor unseen is hoisting a peak, for list, down the inshore curve of the creek, how merrily flutters the sail. And lo, in the east, will the east unveil? The east is unveiled, the east hath confessed a flush. 'Tis dead, 'tis alive, 'tis dead, ere the west was aware of it. Nay, 'tis abiding, 'tis unwithdrawn. Have a care, sweet heaven, 'tis dawn. Now a dream of a flame through that dream of a flush is uprolled, to the zenith ascending, a dome of undazzling gold is builded, in shape as a beehive, from out of the sea. The hive is of gold undazzling, but oh, the bee, the star-fed bee, the build-fire bee, of dazzling gold is the great sun bee, that shall flash from the hive-hole over the sea. Yet now the dewdrop, now the morning gray, shall live their little lucid sober day, ere with the sun their souls exhale away. Now in each pettiest personal sphere of dew, the summed morn shines complete as in the blue, big dewdrop of all heaven. With these lit shrines, or silvered to the farthest sea confines, the sacramental marsh one pious plain of worship lies. Peace to the anti-reign of merry morning, blissful mother mild, minded of naught but peace and of a child. Not slower than majesty moves, for a mean and a measure of motion, not faster than dateless Olympian leisure might pace with unblown ample garments from pleasure to pleasure. The wave's serrate sea rim sinks unjarring, unreeling, forever revealing, edgewise, bladewise, half-wise, whole-wise, 'tis done. Good morrow, Lord Sun. With several voice, with ascription one, the woods and the marsh and the sea and my soul unto thee, whence the glittering stream of all morrows doth roll, cry good and past good, and most heavenly morrow, Lord Sun. O artisan born in the purple, workman heat, parter of passionate atoms that travail to meet, and be mixed in the death-cold oneness, innermost guest at the marriage of elements, fellow of publicans, blessed king in the blouse of flame, thou loiterest o'er the idle skies, yet labourest fast evermore. Thou in the fine-forged thunder, thou in the beat of the heart of a man, thou motive, labourer heat, yea, artist, thou of whose art yon seas all news, with his inshore greens and manifold mid-sea blues, pearl glint, shell tint, ancientest, perfectest hues, ever shaming the maidens, lily and rose, confess thee, and each mild flame that glows in the clarified virginal bosoms of stones that shine, it is thine, it is thine. Thou chemist of storms, whether driving the winds a-swirl, or a flicker the subtler essences polar that whirl in the magnet earth, yea, thou with a storm for a heart, rent with debate, many spotted with question, part from part off sundered, yet ever a globed light, yet ever the artist, ever more large and bright than the eye of a man may avail of. Manifold one, I must pass from thy face, I must pass from the face of the sun. Old want is awake and agog, every wrinkle a frown. The worker must pass to his work in the terrible town. But I fear not, nay, and I fear not the thing to be done. I am strong with the strength of my Lord the Sun. How dark soever the race that must needs be run, I am lit with the sun. Oh, never the mast-high run of the seas of traffic shall hide thee, never the hell-colored smoke of the factories hide thee, never the reek of the time's fen politics hide thee, and ever my heart through the night shall with knowledge abide thee, and ever by day shall my spirit, as one that hath tried thee, labour at leisure in art, till yonder beside thee my soul shall float, friend sun, the day being done. Baltimore, December 1880. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Sunshine by Cora C. Bass. Read for LibriVox.org by mleigh. There is plenty of sunshine in the world to brighten the darkest days. Are we sailing on with our colors furled, or spread to the cheering rays? Are we sailing on with downcast eyes, or eyes on the gleaming goal? Safe is the trip of the ship of the skies, though the waves of the clouds rough roll. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Tomorrow is My Birthday by Edgar Lee Masters. Read for LibriVox.org by Arden. January 31st, 2025. Tomorrow is my birthday. Well, then, another drink. Ben Jonson knows, so do you, Michael Drayton, that tomorrow I reach my 52nd year, but hark ye, tomorrow lacks 2 days of being a month. Here is a secret, since I made my will. Hey-ho, that's done too. I wonder why I did it. That I should make a will, yet it may be that then and jump at this most crescent hour, heaven inspired the deed. As a mad younker, I knew an aged man in Warwickshire, who used to say, ah, mercy me, for sadness of change, or passing time, or secret thoughts. If it was spring, he sighed it. If 'twas fall, with drifting leaves, he looked upon the rain, and with doleful suspiration kept this habit of his grief. And on a time, as he stood looking at the flying clouds, I, loitering near, expectant, heard him say it, inquired, why do you say, ah, mercy me, now that it's April? So he hobbled off, and left me empty there. Now here am I. Oh, it is strange to find myself this age, and rustling like a pease cod, though unshelled, and like this aged man of Warwickshire, slaved by a mood which must have breath. Tra-la! That's what I say instead of, ah, mercy me. For look you, Ben, I catch myself with tra-la the moment I break sleep to see the day. At work, alone, vexed, laughing, mad or glad, I say tra-la, unknowing. Oft at table, I say tra-la, and t'other day poor Anne looked long at me and said, you say tra-la sometimes when you're asleep, why do you so? Then I bethought me of that aged man, who used to say, ah, mercy me, but answered, perhaps I am so happy when awake. The song crops out in slumber, who can say? And Anne arose, began to keel the pot. But was she answered, Ben? Who know a woman? Tomorrow is my birthday. If I die, slip out of this with Bacchus for a guide. What soul would interdict the poppied way? Heroes may look the monster down, a child can will a lion, who is cowed to see such bland unreckoning of his strength. But I, having so greatly lived, would sink away, unknowing my departure. I have died 1,000 times, and with a valiant soul have drunk the cup. But why, in such a death, tomorrow shines and there's a place to lean? But in this death that has no bottom to it, no bank beyond, no place to step, the soul grows sick, and like a falling dream we shrink from that inane which gulfs us, without place for us to stand and see it. Yet, dear Ben, this thing must be. That's what we live to know, out of long dreaming, saying that we know it. As yeasty heroes in their braggart teens spout learnedly of war, who never saw a cannon aimed, you drink too much today, or get a scratch while turning Lucy's style, and like a beast you sicken, like a beast they cart you off. What matter if your thought outsoared the phoenix, like a beast you rot? Methinks that something wants our flesh, as we hunger for flesh of beasts. But still tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow creeps in this petty pace. O Michael Drayton, some end must be. But twixt the fear of seizing and weariness of going on we lie upon these thorns. These several springs I find, no new birth in the spring. And yet in London I used to cry, oh, would I were in Stratford. It's April and the larks are singing now. The flags are green along the Avon River. Oh, would I were a rambler in the fields. This poor machine is racing to its wreck. This grist of thought is endless. This old sorrow spouts, whines, and crawls in London's darkness. Come, back to your landscape. Peradventure waits some woman there who will make new the earth, and crown the spring with fire. So back I come, and these springs march before me, say, behold, here are we, and what would you, can you use us? What good is air if lungs are out, or springs, when the mind's flown so far away, no spring, nor loveliness of earth can call it back? I tell you what it is, in early youth, the life is in the loins. By 30 years, it travels through the stomach to the lungs, and then we strut and crow. By 40 years, the fruit is swelling while the leaves are fresh. By 50 years, you're ripe, begin to rot. At 52, or 55, or 60, the life is in the seed. What's spring to you? Puff, puff, you are so winged and light you fly. For every passing zephyr are blown off, and drifting God knows where cry out tra-la. Ah, mercy me, as it may happen you. Puff, puff, away you go. Another drink? Why, you may drown the earth with ale, and I will drain it like a sea. The more I drink, the better I see that this is April time. Ben, there is one voice which says to everything, dream what you will, I'll make you bear your seed. man, having borne, the sickle comes among ye, and takes your stalk. The rich and sappy greens of spring or June show life within the loins, and all the world is fair, for now the plant can drink the level cup of flame where heaven is poured full by the sun. But when the blossom flutters its colors, then it takes the cup and waves the stalk aside, and having drunk the stalk to penury, then slumber comes, with dreams of spring stored in the imprisoned germ, an old life and a new life all in one, a thing of memory and of prophecy, of reminiscence, longing, hope, and fear. What has been ours is taken, what was ours becomes entailed on our seed in the spring, fees in possession and enjoyment too. The thing is sex, Ben. It is that which lives and dies in us, makes April and unmakes, and leaves a man like me at 52, finished but living on the pinnacle, betwixt a death and birth, the earth consumed, and heaven rolled up to eyes whose troubled glances would shape again to something better. What? Give me a woman, Ben, and I will pick out of this April, by this larger art of 52, such songs as we have heard, both you and I, when weltering in the clouds, of that eternity which comes in sleep, or in the viewless spinning of the soul, when most intense. The woman is somewhere, and that's what tortures when I think this field, so often gleaned, could blossom once again, if I could find her. Well, as to my plays, I have not written out what I would write. They have 1,000 buds of finer flowering, and over Hamlet hangs a teasing spirit, as fine to that as sense is fine to flesh. Good friends, my soul beats up its prisoned wings against the ceiling of a vaster world, and would break through and enter. But, fair friends, what strength in place of sex shall steady me? What is the motive of this higher mount? What process in the making of myself? The very fire, as it were, of my growth, shall furnish forth these writings by the way, as incident, expression of the nature, relumed for adding branches, twigs, and leaves. Suppose I'd make a tragedy of this, focus my fancied Dante to this theme, and leave my half-writ Sappho, which at best is just another delving in the mine that gave me Cleopatra and the sonnets. If you have genius, write my tragedy, and call it Shakespeare, gentleman of Stratford, who lost his soul amid 1,000 souls, and had to live without it, yet live with it, as wretched as the souls whose lives he lived. Here is a play for you, poor William Shakespeare, this moment growing drunk, the famous author of certain sugared sonnets and some plays, with this machine too much to him, which started some years ago, now cries him nay and runs, even when the house shakes and complains. I fall. You shake me down, my timbers break apart. Why, if an engine must go on like this, the building should be stronger. Or to mix, and by the mixing unmix metaphors. No mortal man has blood enough for brains, and stomach too, when the brain is never done with thinking and creating. For you see, I pluck a flower, cut off a dragon's head, choose twixt these figures, lo, a dozen buds, a dozen heads outcrop. For every fancy, play, sonnet, what you will, I write me out, with thinking, now I'm done, 100 others, crowd up for voices, and like twins unborn, kick and turn o'er for entrance to the world. And I, poor fecund creature, who would rest, as 'twere from an importunate husband, fly to money-lending, farming, mulberry trees, enclosing well-combed fields, or idling hours, in common talk with people like the Coombs. All this to get a hardiness, a hold on earth again, lest heaven Hercules, finding me strayed to mid-air, kicking heels, above the mountain tops, seize on my scruff, and bear me off or strangle. Good, my friends, the tempest is as nothing to the voice that calls me to performance, what I know not. I've planned an epic of the Asian wash, which slopped the star of Athens and put out, which should all history analyze and present 1,000 notables in the guise of life, and show the ancient world and worlds to come, to the last blade of thought and tiniest seed of growth to be. With visions such as these, my spirit turns in restless ecstasy, and this enslaved brain is master sponge, and sucks the blood of body, hands, and feet, while my poor spirit, like a butterfly, gummed in its shell, beats its bedraggled wings, and cannot rise. I'm cold, both hands and feet. These 3 days past I have been cold. This hour I am warm in 3 days. God bless the ale. God did do well to give us anodynes. So now you know why I am much alone, and cannot fellow with Augustine Phillips, John Hemming, Richard Burbage, Henry Condell, and do not have them here, dear ancient friends, who grieve, no doubt, and wonder for changed love. Love is not love which alters when it finds a change of heart, but mine has changed not, only I cannot be my old self. I blaspheme. I hunger for broiled fish, but fly the touch of hands of flesh. I am most passionate, and long amused perplexities of love, to bemoan and to bewail. And do you wonder, seeing what I am, what my fate has been? Well, hark you, Anne is 60 now, and I, a crater which erupts, look where she stands, in lava wrinkles, 8 years older than I am, as years go, but I am a youth afire, while she is lean and slippered. It's a fury which takes me sometimes, makes my hands clutch out, for virgins in their teens. Oh, sullen fancy! I want them not. I want the love which springs, like flame which blots the sun, where fuel of body is piled in reckless generosity. You are most learned, Ben, Greek and Latin know, and think me nature's child, scarce understand how much of physic, law, and ancient annals I have stored up by means of studious zeal. But pass this by, and for the braggart breath, ensuing now say, Will was in his cups. Pot valiant, boozed, corned, squiffy, obfuscated, crapulous, interpocula, or so forth. Good sir, or so, or friend, or gentleman, according to the phrase or the addition of man and country, on my honour, Shakespeare, at Stratford, on the 22nd of April, year 1616 of our Lord was merry, videlicet, was drunk. Well, where was I? Oh yes, at braggart breath, and now to say it. I believe and say it as I would lightly speak, of the most common thing to sense, outside myself to touch or analyze, this mine, which has been used by something, as I use a quill for writing, never in this world, in the most high and palmy days of Greece, or in this roaring age, has known its peer. No soul as mine has lived, felt, suffered, dreamed, broke open spirit secrets, followed trails of passions curious, countless lives explored, as I have done. And what are Greek and Latin, the lore of Aristotle, Plato to this? Since I know them by what I am, the essence from which their utterance came, myself a flower, of every graft and being in myself, the recapitulation and the complex of all the great, were not brains before books, and even geometrics in some brain before old Gutenberg. Oh fie, Ben Jonson, if I am nature's child, am I not all? Howe'er it be, ascribe this to the ale, and say that reason in me was a fume. But if you honour me, as you have said, as much as any this side idolatry, think, Ben, of this, that I, whate'er I be, in your regard, have come to 52, defeated in my love, who knew too well that poets through the love of women turn to satyrs or to gods, even as women, by the first touch of passion bloom or rot, as angels or as bawds. Bethink you also how I have felt, seen, known the mystic process, working in man's soul from the woman's soul, as part thereof in essence, spirit, and flesh, even as a malady may be, while this thing is health and growth, and growing draws all life, all goodness, wisdom for its nutriment, till it become a vision paradisic, and a ladder of fire for climbing from its topmost, rung a place for stepping into heaven. This I have no, but had not, nor have I stood coolly off and seen the woman used her blood upon my palette. No, but heaven commanded my strength's use to abort and slay what grew within me, while I saw the blood of love untimely ripped, as 'twere a child killed in the womb, a harpy or an angel, with my own blood stained, as a virgin shamed by the swelling life unlicensed needles it, but empties not her womb of some last shred of flesh which fouls the alleys of her body, and fills her wholesome nerves with poisoned sleep, and weakness to the last of life. So I, for some shame not unlike, some need of life, to rid me of this life I had conceived, did up and choke it too, and thence begot a fever and a fixed debility for killing that begot. Now you see that I have not grown from a central dream, but grown despite a wound, and over the wound and used my flesh to heal my flesh. My love's a fever, which longed for that which nursed the malady, and fed on that which still preserved the ill, the uncertain sickly appetite to please. My reason, the physician to my love, angry that his prescriptions are not kept, has left me, and as reason is past care, I am past cure, with ever more unrest, made frantic mad, my thoughts as madmen's are, and my discourse at random from the truth, not knowing what she is, who swore her fair, and thought her bright, who is as black as hell, and dark as night. But list, good gentlemen, this love I speak of is not as a cloak, which one may put away to wear a coat, and doff that for a jacket, like the loves we men are wont to have as loves or wives. She is the very one, the soul of souls, and when you put her on, you put on light, or wear the robe of Nessus, poisonous fire, which if you tear away, you tear your life, and if you wear, you fall to ashes. So 'tis not her bed bough broke, I have broke mine, that ruins me. 'Tis honest faith quite lost, and broken hope that we could find each other, and that mean more to me and less to her. 'Tis that she could take all of me and leave me without a sense of loss, without a tear, and make me full and perjured for the oath that swore her fair and true. I feel myself as like a virgin who her body gives for love of one whose love she dreams is hers, but wakes to find herself a toy of blood, and dupe a prodigal breath, abandoned quite for other conquests. For I gave myself, and shrink for thought thereof, and for the loss of myself never to myself restored. The urtication of this shame made plays and sonnets, as you'll find behind all deeds that mount to greatness, anger, hate, disgust, but better, love. To hell with punks and wenches, drabs, mopsies, doxies, minxes, trolls and queens, rips, harridans and strumpets, pieces, jades, and likewise to the eternal bonfire lechers, all rake hells, satyrs, goats, and placket fumblers, gibs, breakers in at catch doors, thunder tubes. I think I have a fever, hell and furies, or else this ale grows hotter in the mouth. Ben, if I die before you, let me waste, richly and freely in the good brown earth, untrumpeted and by no bust marked out. What good, Ben Jonson, if the world could see what face was mine, who wrote these plays and sonnets? Life, you have hurt me, since death has a veil, I take the veil and hide, and like great Caesar, who drew his toga round him, I depart. Good friends, let's to the fields, I have a fever. After a little walk, and by your pardon, I think I'll sleep. There is no sweeter thing, nor fate more blessed than to sleep. Here, world, I passed you like an orange to a child. I can no more with you. Do what you will. What should my care be when I have no power to save, guide, mold you? Naughty world, you need me as little as I need you. Go your way. Tyrants shall rise and slaughter fill the earth, but I shall sleep. In wars and wars and wars, the ever-replenished youth of earth shall shriek and clap their gushing wounds, but I shall sleep. Nor earthy thunder wake me when the cannon shall shake the throne of Tartarus. Morators shall fulmin over London or America, of rights eternal, parchments, sacred charters, and cut each other's throats when reason fails. But I shall sleep. This globe may last and breed the race of men till time cries out, how long? But I shall sleep 10,000 years. I am a dream, Ben, out of a blessed sleep. Let's walk and hear the lark. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Upon Easter Day by Richard Crashaw. Read for LibriVox.org by Public Domain Scholar. Upon Easter Day. Rise, heir of fresh eternity, from thy virgin tomb. Rise, mighty man of wonders, and thy world with thee. Thy tomb, the universal East, nature's new womb. Thy tomb, fair immortality's perfumed nest. Of all the glories make noon gay, this is the morn. This rock buds forth the fountain of the streams of day. In joy's white annals live this hour when life was born. No cloud scowl on his radiant lids, no tempest lower. Life, by this light's nativity, all creatures have. Death only, by this day's just doom, is forced to die. Nor is death forced, for he may lie, throned in thy grave. Death will, on this condition, be content to die. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Where the Wood-Thrush Calls by Jesse Wallace Hewan. Read for LibriVox.org by Phil Schempf. Somewhere Jack in the pulpit stands, master of all he sees, where the checkering shadows wander down under the forest trees, and marshaled ferns in their brave array are guarding patiently the cool green moss that has ne'er been trod in the place that waits for me. The roar of the city grows faint and low as I list to the silence deep, to the call of the wood-thrush fairy clear where the trees their shadows keep. The heat and the struggle are far away, and I stand for a moment free as I breathe the breath of the chiming brook in the place that waits for me. Perhaps when the labor all is done, I may come to my kingdom fair. Perhaps through the years of shade and sun, it will always wait me there. But I know the violets still will bloom, with ne'er an eye to see, and the wood-thrush call with none to hear, in the place that waits for me. Here in the strife my comrades toil, where the prisoning walls are high, where the noonday glares on the burning street, and the people surging by. I would they could hear the chiming brook, I would that their eyes could see the shadows dance on the woodland moss, in the place that waits for me. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.